Hi, I'm Angified. I started Angified Presents.
We share the love of music.
It has been medicine and therapy. Nothing else worked.
It has saved many of us. With mental health, we need to open our eyes.
Hurt people hurt people.
We ask that you listen, comprehend, and relate with your ears.
Form that heart of unity and one.
We share on this stage.
Statistics, feelings.
And ourselves.
We stand with the belief to be you, to be heard, and to be original.
We all may be different, with opinions and beliefs.
At the end of the day, we are all brothers and sisters.
We are family.
We ask that you join us in a magical journey with artists from around the world. Open your minds, let in the love,
and listen with your hearts.
We all want a better tomorrow. Be one.
Communicate and look out for one another. And then, and only then, will you find the world.
We will find peace in all the world.
You'll find the world. And you will find in this shining world. He was among us in every boy and girl. Many have been broken, red hearts turn black. Love will melt the ice and turn it back, and you will find the world. You will find the world. You will find the world.
Rawr.
We cover digital audio workstations and music tools. We explore theory, gear, and MIDI too. How to weigh and compose, and the art of arranging. Taking a look at AI and how the times have changed. On a PC or a Mac, and even with a mobile device, we'll be talking about it all every Thursday night. From software to plugins and synths that entice. Dive deep into tech and let creativity take flight. Talkin IT. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. From bedroom producers to seasoned pros, we're breaking it down so knowledge grows. Whether you're a DJ or a beat making wizard, we got the tips and tricks to make your sound sizzle. Mixing and mastering, that's our jam. With the tutorials and tips on how much RAM. Get the best quality from your setup and gear. Tune in every week and lend us your ear. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. We're talking IT. We're talking IT. Every Thursday night on Angified.
As Ange would say, woot woot.
Woot woot. On a Thursday, just like that.
It's German for woo.
That's right. Got to do it in all languages, just for everybody.
Yeah. And tonight we got a combination of a little bit of equipment news, a little bit of gaming in the middle, and then a little talk about tone and signal and improving it. I think this is a nice, we've focused on certain things all year, and this is a nice rounded bit of news and tips. Here, we'll jump to the cave and I'll show you what I mean.
Cover some ground. Yeah. We love gaming. We love music. We love tone.
And when it comes to the gaming side of this, it's good. You're going to see the PlayStation 5 is still alive.
It's alive.
But the one I did want to cover as far as news this week on the hardware side, on the computer side, long-awaited NVidia chip for mobile that they've been talking about forever now. They finally announced it. Still don't know what the price on these things are going to be, but looking at the kind of specs that you're going to get in a mobile device that's going to get thinner and less power, but yet more actual computing power, this is going to be an interesting one to compete against these new MacBook M5 laptops. And from what I'm hearing they're doing with this M6 that's supposed to be coming out, this is going to be their competitor.
Going right at it. Yep.
So Dave 2D is going to give us some details on NVIDIA's new laptops. The RTX Spark is the chip they've been talking about all week.
Nice.
And then not to ignore Apple's opinion on things. And Sam Time, been here for a few different hardware reviews. And I like going here because he comes from Apple, and you get to see, like, from that industry side, their perspective on these different announcements from NVIDIA and Microsoft and everybody else. Apple always has their own opinion, and Sam has a funny way of comparing apples to oranges.
Exactly.
So he's going to react on this new Surface Laptop Ultra. That's the Microsoft's version of the NVIDIA, the one that they're really pushing right now.
Right. And the main thing usually comes down to, how that touch interface is working out,
Yeah.
Is it going comparable? That's the question.
Yeah, maybe the NVIDIA engine might help that. They still got to figure out their screen technology, get it up to like Apple's precision, but doesn't hurt to have a kick-ass CPU.
For sure.
And then for the gaming portion, the Sony State of Play was yesterday, and for Sony gamers, it's kind of a big deal because it's where they start to show like all these games that have been getting worked on that are about to come out, and there's a few in here that I know is going to get you perked up, and, and I'm curious as to which ones you would and wouldn't play. This will be our featured one.
Nice.
We'll be watching right along with it. It's all game previews, so we're going to see how good 2026 games are going to look.
Yeah.
Guys, I got a preview of a few of them, and I'm impressed.
Oh, yeah. It's come a long way.
Makes me actually want to get a new PlayStation.
Yeah.
And then we're going to shift over to the signal portion. And a lot of this I wanted to do more for talking about tone sculpting, but we've done that in the past. And what I chose here was actually more signal sculpting than tone sculpting. And the tone manual, this channel almost just used like a bunch of videos from there to talk about tone, because this channel covers everything. But this one I found interesting. The advice here, they say stop plugging directly into your interface. It's the digital tone sucking fault. And when you see like the obstacles here, when you are trying to get your signal into a computer, and in this case, it's got a lot to do with amp modeling and how you get your tones afterwards. And depending on how you get your tone in, is still more important than the amp sim or the IR that you're running afterwards.
Yep. And that part of it, like one of the videos I watched the other day was just talking about like your pedal board setup and how, you can get that hum coming across, throughout if you don't have things set up like an electrical engineer as opposed to as a sound sculpting guy. So like looking at the problem from several angles is helpful too. Like, if you're having a problem with your pedal board setup, diagnosing the issue could come down to isolating things down, isolating power supplies, all that kind of thing. So there are multiple things to look at.
And being able to isolate and troubleshoot depending on your pedal signal. Go figure, Glenn got an idea about recovering tonight, because this one suggests a different approach than the traditional one pedal, next pedal kind of signal chain. And I gotta say, like, if I was a guitarist and I was dealing with lots of pedals, parallel signal chaining versus the linear approach that they tend to take, it's good to consider. And there's pluses and minuses, a lot of pluses. Adam Reynolds is going to actually explain like some of the benefits of taking this approach can help in troubleshooting a problematic pedal or a hum coming from somewhere.
Yeah. And sometimes it even comes down to the different types of effects, where certain effects are better off going in series like that, and others are better shifting off to parallel processing to get different results. Also to send sound to different places. Some people, they actually like sending to multiple amps. So you're sending a clean signal over here to this amp, and then you're sending a signal through this pedal and over to that amp, and you're getting just a crafted sound overall.
Yeah, multi-signal processing and being able to record over here through one effect and record over here clean, and all these are useful things to know about when you're putting your tracks together.
Absolutely.
And what I like with this one, he's going to show some of the difference in how this pedal, how it would sound in this kind of approach versus this, and the difference you're going to get in some of these effects depending on how you route them.
And some of the other ones that they were considering, things like shielding the cavity of a guitar, for example, if it's picking up, stray signals from the room, because sometimes that hum, you could diagnose that it's not coming from the pedals at all. It's just something in the room, like there's a neon light in the room, and when you get near it, your guitar starts making noise, even if it's just plugged straight into the amp. That can be that the guitar itself needs shielding, for example, inside.
Yeah. Hopefully you're not standing next to some really large, powerful magnets too.
Not all at once, no.
And for our last one, this is an interesting little gadget. I don't know what the price is. I'm gonna assume it's not super expensive because it doesn't really look like it would be super expensive.
Mhm.
I guess it would depend on the camera technology that they're using to do what this thing does. And it's called a Crysound acoustic camera.
Nice.
And we've looked at other we've looked at software solutions and special cameras for like sound design in a room and how to measure things in a room to decide like how you're going to soundproof it and everything.
Mhm.
And when I saw this, and if it's cheap enough, you get this under $100, and I'm getting one just so I can see like where noise in the room actually does come from. And
Mhm. Yeah.
it,
If you'll be able to see where it's bleeding in from and have it look like, again, whether it looks like waves coming in or whether you can just tell the general area, from where the noise is leaking in, that can help a lot.
yeah, this like reminds me of like how photographers use the light meters
Mhm. Yep.
to just kind of read like natural light and the flashes are producing this much.
Mhm.
This kind of feels like something like that for sound engineers.
Right. And the question is also, like putting, sections of flat wall that you want to actually deaden sound and see
Yeah.
the effects of what that's going to look like after you put a panel down.
Exactly. And that's where like you get your money's worth out of this because I'm spending all this on soundproofing, and is it actually working?
Mhm.
Sometimes you need to visualize it. It's not just about listening.
Yeah, exactly.
So BigLive.com was lucky enough to get his hands on one of these. They approached him and was like, "Hey, you want to try one of these? And if Crysound is listening, I would love to try one too. I'll give it a review and see how
Yes.
noisy my room actually is."
Absolutely. Good to know.
Yep. So to get started, though, I do want to know more about this RTX Spark. I'm still kind of shying towards the future. Most likely a MacBook of some sort gonna end up getting in this room for something musical. But on the other side of power laptops, video editing, gaming, all the other things aside from music, this might keep the Windows market alive if this kind of power can be cheaply put into laptops and kind of bring us to like 2026 specs, because a lot of laptops right now are still catching up on 2026 specs. I mean, I got an RTX in this laptop. It's only 3-4 years old, but it's already starting to feel a little old, and
Yeah. I mean,
it shouldn't feel that way.
the stuff does happen fast, right? I mean, even new architecture for chips is coming soon. I mean, there's, these are new chips we're talking about now, but they've actually come, they're thinking about ways to try to either, sidestep or surpass Moore's law in, beyond going just to different scaling, because you can only scale down so far. So they're just coming up with different types of architecture as the next way around that, essentially.
Yeah, interesting that you mentioned that because I almost included a video tonight that was about Huawei has broken Moore's
that,
law. So
that was
you
that was the
probably
video I
came
was watching.
across.
Yeah.
And it's it's like it's all relative.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, we could pick, 100 videos a night, and there's the stuff happens very fast, and staying on top of the stuff, is important. And just a lot of the things, just watching a video like that is fascinating because it's talking about the way that, they can expand by, taking two halves of a processor and sandwiching them together so that the distance traveled is so much less, than you're getting so much less losses than you would normally get in a normal chip architecture.
Yeah, they're thinking out of the box to like overcome some of these. They have to, because I mean we've done everything else at this point, so we're gonna have to try something different. To, and I think a big challenge right now is to use less resources that RAM. With the RAM prices the way they are, Apple is certainly doing what they can to not need as much RAM. So it's good to see that, like, in some instances, they're optimizing their code. They're actually doing the things that they should have been doing all along, instead of like acting like, oh, RAM's forever and hard drive space forever. Who cares if this is bloated or over processing, which all operating systems are doing a lot more than they need to do what we need them to do.
Right.
It's good to see that at least some attention's getting spent on optimizing.
And that's the thing, is it's not even just, I mean, optimizing is important for sure. It's even changing processes completely, like doing things in a completely different way, you know, new architecture. There's a bunch of different changes they can make that are stepping outside the actual box, where, you know, again, Moore's law was just a simple scaling thing as we keep getting, you know, smaller and smaller. Whereas if you go to a whole different architecture, you're no longer bound to that same scaling law that we were going down in the first place. So just fresh ideas are very useful for that.
Yeah, plus they're spreading the work across different CPUs, GPUs, and one thing you're going to see with this is like, wow, this has this CPU, this GPU, and APU. Like you're starting to get different things to deal with the different type of work, which is helping to improve the overall performance.
And also just, you know, bolting cache memory closer and closer and more on top of the processor, or, you know, as close as they can without, you know, having problems with, you know, leakage and temperature and all that kind of stuff. You know, they have a lot of different problems they got to solve at the same time. So
stuff we've been playing around with and doing since the 90s. Like that's how everything got faster and faster. It starts with cache and then turns into buses and speed of you know, the CPU. And
when we do look at the scaling, though, a lot of it we're looking at is, you know, brute force wise, like this is how the numbers are scaling. But by making new approaches and all, again, it's changing the dynamic of the whole thing. And I think with, you know, agentic AI and things like that coming around, like we're going to be doing things differently, instead of just looking at how the scaling is looking in raw terms, in terms of the power consumption, water consumption, all that kind of stuff. Realize that we're going to soon have the AIs getting smart enough to help us make better AIs that don't require as much power or water or what have you, to be able to do all the processing that we need. Asking the right questions of the right parts of the algorithms is going to be important. What we're doing now is more like brute force, just throw more power at it, throw more compute at it, and just make it, you know, make it process from there. But better questions and, you know, better ways of asking questions, and asking questions to the right places is the important way to go.
Yeah. My biggest curiosity here is the heat obstacle. And if they're going to shove this kind of power, and NVIDIA's infamously hot in the desktop, I'm wondering how they've managed to get something like this that's going to go into something slim that's fanless and compete with how Apple does it. Because Apple, I still don't completely understand how they manage to keep their MacBooks so damn cool in some situations, because there's a lot going on in there, and typically that would create a lot of heat, but it's all either routed or avoided in some of these designs.
Yeah. And avoided is the better way, because, you know, whatever you're routing away, all that heat is waste energy. So, I mean, you're trying to not waste the energy in the first place. So if you can do that, that's the best. But if not, you got to be able to get rid of it somehow. Yeah. And that's where, like, you know, closed loop liquid cooling, for example, is something you can do. But when you're trying to get down to laptop sizes, you know, there's certain things that just become less and less viable at that point.
Yeah. And with these super slims, nobody wants one that's actually spitting out heat anywhere. Like they want to put that shit on their lap, sit on a bus, and not burn their knees.
Exactly. And you know, you've seen those, you know, cooling pads that you can get to put under a laptop, but you don't want to have to carry that either, you know. So it's you're trying to avoid the problem at the source. Yeah.
When you're on the road, you're not gonna.
Yeah, exactly.
So at Dave2D Freshie channel, covering this important NVIDIA news. I consider this important. And if you look at the other videos, he's covering all the things I'm asking about. You know, the Mac stuff, this NVIDIA chip, all of this year for me. Very useful information to know. So thank you, Dave2D, for helping to show us this RTX Spark. It's making a lot of noise, and definitely one we had to cover.
a lot of stuff to keep our eyes on for sure.
Yeah, more money to spend.
Mm-hmm.
So NVIDIA just launched the new laptop chip. It's called the RTX Spark. It's a 20-core ARM-based CPU, and it packs an RTX 5070 GPU that has the same core count as the desktop version. It goes up to 128 gigs of unified RAM, and it's being used in very thin laptops, as thin as 14 millimeters, and it still has all-day battery life, and it runs the full NVIDIA stack. So CUDA, DLSS, ray tracing, all of it. Now, I've never had any doubt that if NVIDIA wanted to make a laptop chip, they would make a good one that's energy efficient, powerful. There was never any worry. But what I am worried about is what they want you to use this chip for. Because if you watch their presentation, the first third of it, or maybe even more, they're talking about agents. So we got to talk about this because this is the main pitch. If you know what an LLM is, like a large language model. So let's start there. Large language models. So ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, things like that. They are like tools that you can type to and they'll type back or respond back, right? Agents are the next step of that. Instead of just responding back to you, they can actually do things for you. So as an example, you would ask it to like draw an owl and then make it fly while changing the camera angle. And the agent will go and perform the steps required across your actual apps, checking its work as it does it to complete the goal. It would kind of be like a derpy little intern that lives inside your computer that can do stuff for you. Now, keep in mind there are pre-existing tools today that can accomplish stuff like this, but they definitely require like a little bit of knowledge, and they're tools that you have to kind of piece together that a typical person wouldn't want to do. Now, NVIDIA's bet, along with Microsoft, is that this will be the new era of PC, and they're calling it exactly that. The idea is that these agents would run locally on your device instead of the cloud. And to do that, you would need a lot of unified memory, because to have a genuinely capable agent, you would need a fairly large model that's sitting inside fairly fast RAM. And like a regular laptop can't do that. Not even a gaming laptop, because there's not enough of that super fast RAM in gaming laptops. So a MacBook Pro could technically do it because you can get up to 128 gigs of unified RAM there. Same with an AMD Strix Halo laptop. That has a lot of unified memory, but neither of those two devices have access to the CUDA software stack. And CUDA is the thing that virtually every AI tool and framework and model is built on and optimized for first. So the RTX Spark with its 128 gigs of unified memory has access to this CUDA stack. It's great. It's like purpose built for this vision. However, this is where things get a little shaky, because if you think about it, this is not NVIDIA's mountain to climb. It's actually Microsoft, because they're the company that has to build and implement the part of Windows that the agents would live in. Like, this is baked into the operating system, would run from your taskbar. It needs access to your files, your apps. It has to have a lot of access to your system. And if you think of Copilot, most people are actively trying to remove Copilot from the system because they find it too obtrusive. Can you imagine like Copilot Extreme? This thing would need more control, more access, and just more, it's more capable, right? So it has to have the ability to do all of these things. And I don't know if we're in the position where we actually entrust a company like Microsoft to have that kind of control, but it would need it to pull this off. Now, if they nail it, it would be incredible, genuinely incredible, because now your computer could do these multi-step tasks that we find boring and time-consuming. But at the same time, I also can't imagine Microsoft making a tool that's powerful like that, but wouldn't be obtrusive somehow. But we'll see. The second thing that the RTX Spark chip is supposed to be good at is with creative work. So it is a 5070 with a lot of RAM, and Adobe apparently has new architecture for Premiere and Photoshop engineered specifically around this chip, which is kind of cool, but we'll have to see what that's all about. Now, the third thing is gaming, and to be clear, it is the third thing, because if you look at the list of laptops, these are not gaming laptops. You got like Lenovo Yoga, Dell XPS, Asus ProArt. These are creator or productivity first laptops that can also game, but NVIDIA is throwing some pretty interesting numbers out there. We will have to test all this stuff down the line. They might even be great for gaming. Now, in terms of where I stand on the whole RTX Spark, I think the hardware is very interesting. I think that pricing, if you actually are interested in this thing, the pricing is not revealed yet, but I imagine we should brace for it to be quite expensive because just the market is that way right now. The other thing, though, is just like the vision of the new era of PC. When you think of the complexities around this, like forget about the technical element of it. That's already extremely difficult. But even if they could pull it off, the kind of social acceptance of having a tool like this baked into your operating system, that's a huge ask. I think in this day and age, like if that thing was available today, I don't know if I would want that on my system. Like it's neat, but when I've kind of pieced together myself and I know exactly where everything is, like that feels a little bit more comfortable. But if this is built into the operating system and it can do stuff when you're not even there, I don't know. It is strange. If there was one company though, if there was one company that has the kind of clout and reputation and just size to pull it off as a partner, it would be NVIDIA. They're super rich. They have a ton of connections with multiple industries, AI, gaming, like productivity, workflows, like so much stuff stems around NVIDIA. So maybe they could pull it off. Who knows? What do you think? Is this something that you would, if you think about it, like what it's capable of and the examples they've given, is it something that you would actually use and or want on your system? Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video.
Oh, he got me thinking.
Now, to me, one of the most important reasons to have it locally, to have an agent locally, is that the agent could then reach out and utilize the cloud-based resources for you. So you could have something keeping an eye on and, getting your project together essentially and taking care of those steps for you locally and being able to reach out and access the other models as well.
Well, working when you don't necessarily need to or want to work.
Right. And again, with agentic AI, you can have it do certain processes. You can have individual ones specifically for certain tasks and all that kind of thing. So you can automate away as much of your day as you kind of want to, but a lot of people don't want to turn over all that much access. Because again, you could have it posting in your socials and all that, and it could be doing those things without you. So, all of a sudden you could be having an online presence when you're not actually there. That
I'm one of those lot of people.
Yeah. And some people don't want that. Exactly. So, that's where, there's a line to be drawn. There are great things that it can be useful for, but at the same time, there are limits to what I or you would want it to do for us. And that's why you wouldn't want to just throw it the keys and say, take care of everything for me. And, jump on board when you sign on and say, do everything.
Yeah. And Dave makes some good points about what it does offer. The fact that it is going to need some operating system assistance in order to actually become something worth investing into. It kind of reminds me of like the old days with MMX in the 90s and, multimedia extensions and all the things that started to become important to get in your chip. But during the time when you're paying that extra money to get an MMX CPU, none of the software, none of the operating system at that time was really taking advantage of it. Flash forward a couple of years later, they start making dual CPU machines. Unless you're running on Windows NT, you were wasting money buying a second CPU. Some of this technology that they're starting to bake in now might take a couple of years for you to get your money's worth if you're buying it brand new as it's rolling out. This is sexy, but the fact that the price right now, we still don't know. And NVIDIA is not the one who's going to end up dictating the prices on the Microsoft Surface. Like how the vendors decide to price these things is going to determine how well this gets implemented, how it becomes a standard in the future that you might start seeing on all Windows-based machines.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And again, who actually knows where we're going to be in 2-3 years? As far as thinking about the machine that you're talking about that you have sitting there that's 3 years old, for example. If you got a brand new machine today, what would you want to be in it to plan for the 3 years from now? And you can't really plan for the 3 years from now because we don't know what's going to be available. It could be completely different by now.
Ironically, I just got a new machine last night. It's sitting there waiting to be turned on, and it's got a 5070.
Nice.
It's a Ryzen 9. A lot of the same kind of specs that we're seeing in this, but it's in a desktop, and it does pump out heat.
Oh, yeah. Big power supply in those desktops for sure.
Yeah. And, that's the other thing that I'm surprised you didn't mention more on that. Like the power consumption and the heat are my biggest curiosities here. How are they getting, you know how the RTXs are. Like the ones that I have in these machines, I need an 800 watt or more in order to be able to use these things. And cramming them into these tiny little form factors, it's amazing that they're bringing that RTX technology to that level, and it's worth getting RTX technology. If you're a video editor, especially for me, it became an essential. And if you're getting into game development, 3D, like he said, this isn't being targeted for gamers, but it's a worthy, capable machine that could actually please most gamers.
And see, that's the thing is, to me, whether it's gaming, whether it's video editing, like all of those things to me are things that would be definite desktop applications as opposed to laptop. Like to me, laptop, that's the trade-off. Like with a laptop, you're making trade-offs to make it that small form factor, right? Like, know, you can't have the full power, because if it was full power, it would be generating too much heat to be able to dissipate in a convenient way. So to me, like in order to get the maximum power for things like, peak gaming and video editing and all of that, you would want to go the desktop route. But I understand where, laptops have caught up a lot, and there are people who would, favor the ability to be able to take it out on a beach, put it on their lap, and be able to do video editing right there on the spot. I get that. It's just, to me, I've never wanted that trade-off from the desktop side. So I've always preferred the desktops over the laptops.
Yeah, well, and if I'm a professional who's doing it all day and I need this, I'd rather have the desktop. The old school mentality, like I can upgrade stuff, and the desktop is much more flexible for an everyday work machine. But with a lot of mobile workers nowadays, and they work here, they work there, and they want to be able to bring that power computing so that they can do what they do in different locations. In the old days, when you're weighing like laptop versus desktop, it used to be like you only get this many USB ports and you only get this much expandability.
Right.
But
and that was the other thing about laptops that was big to me as a problem, is the
it was a
lack
big
of
deal.
those things.
It was a big deal breaker for the longest time for me, like especially music machines where I got 5, 6 devices that want to plug in USB, and I don't want to use like a generic hub for that kind of shit. So what has changed, especially with USB-C now being incorporated into these, you get these docking stations, and some of these docking stations, they take complete advantage of the USB-C speed. They start giving you additional video outputs. They start giving you a whole bunch more ports and USB that you might need for your work situation. It's not as bad as it used to be if you decide like it'd be nice to have that desktop for like flexibility, but I do need to carry this shit around. You're not compromising as much on a laptop as you used to.
Exactly. It's not as much. But if you were doing that, if I were doing that kind of work seriously, or, gaming at that level, game design, as you were saying, I would have the home rig where it's a full desktop setup. And I would also have, a laptop capable of doing these things. It might not be the top end, like I would use as my primary machine, but I would have one that I could use on the run to do, whatever things that I wanted to do. Not necessarily the full workload that I would be trying to do, though. I would do that on the desktop machine at home and at the office.
And that's why this is a nice compliment, because this has a RTX 4080 in it, and this has an RTX 4080 in it.
Exactly.
So if I really want to do the desktop and the video editing, I got a nice big 4K, and it's perfect for the work that I do. And if I do need to go on the road, this thing can do the same work that I do over here. It's just got a smaller screen.
Exactly. You wouldn't want to do it every day on there, but you would be able to get something done on it mobily if you needed to.
When it comes to the video editing and rendering like an hour video and things like that, same RTX technology in both. The encoder is equal.
Yeah. And you can have one doing work while you play a game on the other one.
Which is what I do. I don't play as many games as I'd like to, but I'm usually rendering while I'm editing, and then rendering while I'm editing.
There you go. Double your workflow.
Yes, I'm a multitasker. And at Dave2D, I think he's a multitasker too. Like these technology reviews, welcome Freshy channel for us. We will be checking it out because we love checking on this stuff.
Absolutely.
And as a compliment, or
Counterpoint.
Counterpoint, yes, Sam Time. Love his channel. He brings both humor and good insight from the Apple perspective. And I'm not dealing with apples at the moment, but it's in my future. Bill Gates got to get his shit together with Windows. Otherwise, I'm not going to 12. I hope you hear me, Bill.
He's
I'm
listening.
going over to the Apple dark side if I have to, because
Oh, if he loses you, oh my God, he knows. He knows that's a problem.
he'll still get me on a few machines, but
he knows.
I can already tell that like the Windows writing is on the wall, because if I was building client machines or ones for like the non-gaming family members, because I know I'm not getting my brother off of Windows to play his games, but everybody else in the house could do just as well with a Linux machine. Or hell, if the apples keep getting cheaper, like these Neos and the things that you've seen in the last couple of months, again, it's just more writing on the wall on, how dependent does this house need to be on Windows?
Yeah. Well, and also how cutting edge or bleeding edge are the users that are needing these machines, because if you're not somebody who's using the newest games or the highest amount of video editing that you're doing, you would get by perfectly fine on a slightly lesser machine. Most users would be perfectly fine on a lesser machine than what either of us would build for ourselves, because we are not the average user.
The majority of the users that I'm setting up machines for to do things, really Google Docs is numero uno. Like, need to be able to use Google Docs to do stuff. It's kind of like the old days with Microsoft Office, except it doesn't cost like the license for an Office software, and it's all cloud driven. It's all in the browser. The operating system doesn't matter anymore for that user. They just do all their work in the cloud, and they interact with people in the cloud. So I think a lot of manufacturers are realizing that's a big chunk of the computer user market. Some of them don't even want a computer, period. They want to do it on their tablets and their phones.
Right. But how much of the market, or the computer market in general, is driven by that top percentage of users who are looking for the very, very cutting edge stuff? That's where all the the business is driving, because they're trying to sell those high, fresh cutting edge things, which I get. It's new technology comes out. There's the early adopters. We've talked about that too. The people who jump on it the week it comes out, stand online to get stuff like that. And then there's the people like us who, will, if there's a business case where you need to be on it the day it comes out, that's one thing. But if not, we're going to wait and allow for some time and see, is this update any good? Essentially is the question.
Yeah. Definitely there's a difference between what corporate users and your average everyday users, the decision making and why they go with this or that. In the corporate world, I don't think the admins are ready to just they've always wanted to have thin terminals and dummy machines that just work off of a centralized server.
Yep.
But getting there, even in 2026, it's still a big decision when you've got 100 users in your network, and okay, we're going to get rid of their laptops, and now we're going to give them Chromebooks. That's not
Well, I do get it from reducing the the per user cost. You're just throwing another machine out there, which is a dime a dozen for the machines, and having all the resources in the cloud, because also not everybody is taxing their machine at 100% all the time, right? Some people, their machines are idle a lot, so rather than wasting that prime desktop machine or laptop, wasting cycles sitting there while the person's not doing anything, you just have a dumb terminal that's just not taking resources off the main.
And the strange irony there is, if a corporation decides to go that route, they spend less on their terminals and what they're giving to the employees, but you spend a lot more on a server to actually be that machine for 100 users, and you need some pretty powerful servers to cater to 100 users. You actually need a couple of them.
Yeah, and it should be pretty scalable though. Also, like if you do have your own physical server racks with that stuff going on in there, you can add more quite easily because you already have the infrastructure there. You can just keep scaling it as you add more users. It's easy to add to the back end and just throw more dumb terminals out there essentially. So I get where it's there are reasons why scaling that makes sense, but again, it depends on what you're doing too. How much actual video processing are they doing locally on the machine?
Yeah. How much do they actually need for these kinds of features that like the Spark is coming out with? It'd be nice for the admins to be able to have both those options with their employees, and if they can actually do some of that work, processing and work from the local machine. And then you've got your server for the centralized data. And the biggest compelling reason to go with this device or that device for the admins is security. So if we're going to like make all of our employees switch over to this, well, does it have biometrics? Can it simplify the most important thing that an admin has to do, which is secure the network and make sure that the people can connect to it, but they don't bring all that garbage that they have at home when they come to work.
Yeah, exactly.
At the same time,
never liked when people would bring their own devices. That was always a nightmare scenario.
Yeah. And back in the early days when Apple was just coming out with the iPhones and people were trying to bring MacBooks into our financial network, no.
It's an easy no on our end, but they don't like it and they talk to the management and it's still a no, but now it's at that level they have to have that conversation.
A lot of the problem back then was Apple's approach to how they connect to the networks, and back then
Bonjour.
it was a simple no. Our network is this way and we're not gonna rewire our network to deal with this bullshit. Now that's gone. So if I was an admin now, I'd be more enthusiastic about like mixed networks with Apples and Windows, and it wouldn't be as big of a deal now, but it sucked back in 2008.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure Sam had shit to say about that back then too.
I'm sure.
He's probably been there the whole time. But here he's going to show us Apple's reaction to this Surface Laptop Ultra, which is one of the ones that is going to be utilizing this NVIDIA Spark. And I don't think they're sweating it. He's got a good sense of humor. He sees the pluses and the minuses with this kind of news. And I'm curious to see what Apple does as this technology rolls out and they're getting their new power. They've got a PowerBook that's a MacBook that's coming out that's making a lot of noise out there of being super powerful for a laptop. So we'll probably be checking that in the future.
Nice.
If I'm going to get a Mac, I might get the most expensive one I can.
Why not?
Let's see how they react to this Surface.
What's that? NVIDIA is making super chips for Windows and it'll run all of their AI? Well, that sounds good, but judging by their marketing, looks like their AI just installed Vista. So, I guess it's running about as good as you'd expect. Oh, hi there. I'm Sam Tucker, from the company whose best business decision has been to stuff up AI. Yes, it's worked out surprisingly well for us. But other companies weren't so lucky. As you may have heard recently, that Microsoft and NVIDIA have gotten together to introduce the all-new Surface Laptop Ultra. Powered by NVIDIA's new chip, the NVIDIA RTX Spark, with all the flops and wops it needs to run big AI models. In fact, they say it can run AI so powerful that it's even able to make sense of Satya's jargon.
Text shifts, ubiquitous compute fabric, intelligence ecosystem, team super resolution, context layer, ion instruct, and the governance, right?
Yes, the goblins, thank you. And with 128 gigabytes of RAM built in, the only person rich enough to afford one of these computers is billionaire Jensen Huang. Okay, I was exaggerating a little bit. He could afford to buy 2, but that's it. Microsoft says that the Ultra laptop is remarkably thin, as in remarkable that it's thicker than our 16-inch MacBook Pro. Although I will admit it is slightly lighter in weight and sex appeal. Microsoft have also copied our big trackpad, battery life, and all our ports from the current MacBook Pro and one from our 2015 MacBook Pro. Wow, has it been 11 years since we gave people a USB-A port? Well, that's why when people think of Apple, the C word comes to mind.
Courage.
Anyway, with the new NVidia chips, users will be able to interact with AI running natively on their own computers, and it can use their apps for them. Like one of the examples shown was how the AI can now take over the job of an architect and open up Blender and other apps to design a house.
My agent detects its own mistakes.
It makes mistakes? Oh, I'm sure that's fine. In fact, here's the first house built with AI. Oh, you know, maybe the houses that the AI builds is only for entertainment purposes and not for, you know, living in. No lawsuits. And now introducing the all-new Surface Ultra Dev Box that looks like an Xbox Slim if it ran on OS Fat, aka Windows. But this version of Windows is special as it's distraction-free by default, with no annoying pop-ups or ads or prompts to update the system. Yeah, but I'll believe that when I see it. Look, I know, man, we're all suspicious, but that's what they said. It will also have a vertical taskbar, and with all its AI, it can run great onboard speech recognition.
So I'll just hold spacebar and tell it what I want it to do.
Dear mom, comma, fix ant. Delete that, select all. So this is really unlocking a new market.
Amazing. Anyway, what's next?
What if we did one more thing?
Aha! I knew Satya wanted to be the next Steve Jobs. For goodness sake, he's wearing Steve Jobs' turtleneck under his sweater. Introducing the desktop Fat Pooter and badge concept. Now, the Microsoft Fat Pooter is just like the AI on your laptop, except it's over here now. And the badge is like a really crappy phone that you can wear, so that you can talk to the co-pilot on your pants. And you can use it as an expensive name badge, or do things like use it in medicine, so that the AI can control patients' vitals and medication. What could go wrong? Oh no, our AI is hallucinating. And now, so is the patient. Well, at least he's still alive. No lawsuits. Medication is for entertainment purposes only. And I'm sorry, but the bad news doesn't stop with just Microsoft, as all the other computer manufacturers are making PCs with the new NVIDIA chips in them too, like various laptops, mini PCs, and big desktops. Like, hey Jensen, what have you got in that one?
It has 768 gigabytes of memory.
Geez, forget about it. The all-new Surface Laptop Ultra and NVIDIA RTX Spark. Satya is so happy to tell you about everything except its price. Come on, Microsoft, grow some balls. When we announce a high price, we make it the size of a human man.
Subscribe today.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. And at the end of the Microsoft event, apparently they announced some sort of quantum iPod, but I'm not sure I tuned out by then. One thing you shouldn't tune out to is this channel. Make sure to subscribe and like for more videos, because I had to suffer those events so that you don't have to. I'm doing a service, a great service to the people.
Oh, you're a hero.
Service to the people.
738 gigs in that desktop version.
768, I would bet. Binary numbers. Good stuff.
I like the idea of that much RAM, but I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with it.
Neither does your operating system, so it's okay.
Again, that takes me back to like the 90s where Like anybody who got more than two gigs of RAM back then, it was like, wow, all that dead RAM sitting in that machine.
Were they using high mem dots to get to it? No.
I did in the DOS days. It was the only
Yeah.
way I could play some of the games.
Oh, yeah, we had to reconfigure those files all the time. I mean, that's the thing, is starting there and then having to grow up into the rest of the tech as it came along. I love that we have that position. Like it it would be fun to teach those basics of where we started to the people who grew up with the algorithms and the iPods today, but I don't think they would be interested because they didn't have to learn it. Like we learned it because we needed to at the time. It was something we wanted to do and something that we needed to do to fully understand the technology. But as the technology moved along, it just became so easy to use rather than understand how it actually works.
Well, if you're one of the people that have to work in technology and be prepared for what's coming down the road, and you have to, it's just as important to know where we came from with this technology to understand why we're going in the direction that we're going.
Exactly.
Sometimes they got to make better motherboards, and sometimes RAM needs to get cheaper. And thank God hard drives finally got to a place where, in the 90s, like hard drive storage was a huge problem for everybody. And when it finally leveled off and you could start to get reasonably sized hard drives so you could store all the emails that you never delete, all the different innovations that we've done in the last 30 years were because of pipeline or data storage or broadband, and all of it helped to develop the next generation of equipment.
Exactly.
And yes, Sam, Apple did have a lot to do with it, so thank you for the insight and doing what you're doing. I do like to hear it from the Apple's perspective. This chip and this technology, I think it's cool that it's getting out there. I'm with you. They need to start talking about the price, because don't tease me with like sexy equipment and not drop a price. That's like the Steam Deck right now, or the Steam machines. You don't talk about it for months and months without releasing like what the price range is going to be. Otherwise, I'm considering something that I would never buy at that price range.
And see, that's the thing is, again, I like to be an early adopter in certain ways, but when it comes to new hardware, especially, I will usually sit it out at first to allow that first wave of hardware to get out there and see if there are big problems or recalls or big updates that they need to get right in order to have things fixed. But then I usually will jump on board. But by then the prices usually come down some also.
Yeah.
So it's usually not that first wave. I don't need to be the first one driving one off the lot. That's fine.
If I was, then it's the company paying for it, so I can evaluate it to see if all those 100 employees need one.
Exactly.
In which case, we'll learn from one and then figure out whether we're going to repeat this problem over and over again.
Well, we learn from the one, and then we get instead of the 100 for the 100 people, we get 7 of them for the people who actually need them. And the other 93 people get the model that they could actually utilize better. Yeah.
Thankfully, I'd be one of those 7.
Yeah, you and I both.
Hey, we're getting a new laptop.
Don't worry, we'll get new ones for you guys too. It's just you won't like them as much, but it's fine. It'll be okay.
But they do look sexy. Not as sexy as the MacBooks, but they do look sexy in that slim form factor.
Exactly. And we're getting there. I did like the description of the the fat computer. The same thing that this one does. It's just over there now, and the badge is just a crappier, smaller phone to wear on your pants. Yeah. I mean, interesting. I've liked the idea of going to the communicator badge, design, for example, but that's we're not exactly there yet, or we haven't exactly, switched to that entirely. But some people, they do live entirely off their headsets, for example, and the phone just stays wherever nearby, and they just do everything from the headset itself. So, people have got to the point where they probably would be fine with something that's just a tappable thing that they can.
Well, and some of those technologies they show, they're going to be useful in the medical world. But like him, I'm like, damn, I don't know if I'm going to trust my health on Microsoft equipment in order to analyze. I mean, if I do hallucinate, I'm not against that. But at the same time, I don't know
There
if
are
I
things
want
that you
my
want to be
doctor to do that to me.
yeah, there are things you want to be sure of. And, that's the thing. It can remind me when to take the pills, but I should still be verifying that I'm looking at the right pill for this time of day. Like, wait, this is the purple one. Why am I taking it at noon instead of at midnight or whatever? There's, that whole verify factor that's important.
Yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed.
The
This
AI
is
can make
gonna
life
work.
easier, but we still have to confirm certain things. Yes, the important stuff.
Thank you, at Sam time. Nice humorous approach to looking at this NVIDIA technology.
And 11 years for the USB-A port on the Apple products.
We've come a long way. And I know that C word you're talking about. I'm not sure if it's courage, but I'll take your word for it.
Exactly.
So for our next one, we're gonna get to go into our gaming a little bit, get our gaming on, and this comes from one of the premier YouTube sites for gaming, IGN. At IGN, if you're a gamer out there, you've been here at one point or another. It's gaming news all the way, every day. And
Many years.
For this one, they were nice enough to get like some of the highlights from all the different game previews that they did at the Sony State of Play, which not yesterday but the day before they had. And for gamers, this is like one of those big expos. Like if you're a PlayStation gamer, especially, this is all for those Sony gamers. And although some of these games probably going to be Sony exclusive at first, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of these do manage to get onto other platforms, because there's a few of them that everybody wants to play, and not everybody's going to have a PlayStation 5 for this.
Yeah. And that's the thing about the exclusives. I mean, they love having them to bring people in, but, for some people, it's, that's a trade-off. Like, they have to justify the purchase, and they can't quite justify the purchase. So, a lot of people who wish they could have it won't.
I think if you're one of the gamers who committed to the PlayStation platform, whether it was at 3, 4, now with 5,
1,
yeah. Although we don't like to talk about that one,
but we were there. We were there.
We still are accepting 2 because it was super popular, but it wasn't until 3 that they really got their stride. And with the 5, and knowing that the 6 is like coming down the road, but there's still a lot of life in 5. And Sony's strategy of like, you've got an exclusive ecosystem here for a little while. These you'll only get to play if you've got this console. And then they eventually start to, or they let the developers start to roll it out to other platforms eventually. Does incentivize those early adopters, the ones who want to play it now, going to need a PlayStation 5, at least for the short term.
Yeah.
And when you see some of these games, it makes me want to get a PlayStation 5 just so I can play Wolverine.
Oh, man, for sure. Good choice.
Now, this one, we are going to our special. Hey, look, we're watching games.
Love the way the graphics have come along and the smoothness of the gameplay.
With some of these, they look incredible. This one's the new God of War.
Nice.
Yeah, Jason took me down this rabbit hole last night. They got a whole preview movie.
Nice.
Like a half hour worth watching if you like this game. And they're actually showing some of the gameplay in this. The preview I watched last night. Not a lot of gameplay, just a lot of cutscenes, but
there he is.
That's the one I want.
Nice. Such a great fighting style.
Yeah, hopefully they take advantage of the controllers for unique Wolverine use.
I mean, I was even just thinking about like the original like Batman Arkham Asylum stuff, like back
Yep.
then, like getting into that whole combat system, the combat flow, like getting all that stuff together.
Oh, that's gonna be a big one.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it might outdo Spider-Man. Maybe.
It could. They're both excellent choices, yeah.
Yeah. Now this one, like, yes, I'm a comic book fan, and I would play it because I like the characters it's doing, but it's another fighting game.
One of my buddies is huge on the fighting game, so he'll be big on this for sure. For me, I was never as big into the fighting games, but I didn't shy away from them either necessarily. You know?
Yeah, well, there's still a market for this type of game for sure.
I always remember in some of these games, there was always like some certain move that one character could do that could just make the game no fun for other people, you know?
Oh, what is this one?
Talkin Fighting Souls or something, I said. Some Spider-Man elements. Games that do good verticality, where there's a lot of, you know, very high, a lot of falling from very high, but adapting it in a good way.
Yeah. The gameplay does look interesting. Ooh, cell shading.
Yeah. Scrub the dishes.
I don't know what this game's about, but I might play it.
You're a chef. You're running a restaurant. The chef. There he is.
Ah, that's different.
Yeah. Not just a clone of every other game, for sure.
Yeah, now these games where like you got these massive moves and like you're killing like 10, 20 people at the same time with one move.
Yep.
I know some people like this, but it just seems overwhelming that like you've got weapons that do this.
Well, realize that those 20 things that you're killing, those are not other players. Those are just, you know, NPCs. Yeah. So it would be one thing if, you know, we wiped out 20 players and they have to now go start over or something. That would be way out of, you know, out of whack power wise. But
yeah, when I saw
driving
this one,
games too.
Yeah, and at first I thought, is this GTA 6, which is supposed to be PlayStation 6, but...
Do you remember Twisted Metal?
Oh, yeah.
I love that game.
But this one definitely looks like it'll satisfy some of those GTAers until GTA 6.
Oh, I always like stuntman ones, yeah, because I'm basically doing stunts or having them, you know, line up things, and Lara Croft-ish.
Yeah, and they've been talking. This one I've been hearing noise for months now. Anytime there's a new Tomb Raider game, the gaming community starts talking.
Oh yeah,
and she looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Or
playing these games forever.
Good for being what, 40 years old?
Been playing these games forever for sure. Love puzzles in these things, yeah.
Well, Tomb Raider always had some interesting surprises in their gameplay. Ooh, like dinosaurs a surprise.
Nice. Atlantis.
Oh, she's going to Atlantis.
Very cool. And again, the gameplay on all of this looks so smooth. It's very nice.
Yeah. And the environment. The environments look incredible.
Exactly. Games have come a long way.
Oh, they're going Jurassic.
That's a neat style. This reminds me of like Sonic the Hedgehog, but you know, taken in a different way.
Or like a 3D version of Earthworm Jim or something.
Yeah.
I like how it goes side scroller.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay, that's a mixture.
Right.
You get a little bit of every gamer.
And a little team action too. You got multiple players there, it looks like, or multiple characters.
Oh, he looks like the dude from He-Man.
Nice. Rayman Legends.
Oh, me and Jason checked out this one too, and imagine if you're in a horror movie, but it's a game.
Nice.
Oh yeah, you don't want to see what happens there. I did.
Nice. Epic boss battle. Onimusha, Way of the Sword.
See, again, I wonder, is that gameplay? That looks like cutscenes.
Some of it looked like the part with the puzzle solving there. That's probably a combination. Like, you know, you unlocked 4 things and that unlocked that door for you to go to the next area.
Yeah, a lot of these are slated for September-ish.
Just in time. Get time to plan your time out. Plan your vacation time around the release dates.
Oh, that's the Silent Hill they were talking about.
Nice.
Well, there's a Silent Hill movie that's going to be cut, so this looks like one of those compliments.
Dune Awakening. This one has kind of a what's the one I'm thinking of?
This is Doom?
No, that was the other one. This one's Ill.
Oh no, this is Ill.
You're rapid firing through some now at the end here. So this would be a different one as well. 4 characters coming across it. Party-based combat. No rest for the wicked.
Oh, Jason got me down this rabbit hole too. I like my flight sims.
I did pick up Ace Combat not too long ago. I don't remember which one, but there you go.
And this one looks awesome.
Oh yeah, love it. Interesting. Right.
With all
that one's
games,
June. That one's already out.
With all those games, we're gonna go on a marathon.
Oh yeah, for sure. Nice.
Oh, there's definitely some teasers in there. Makes me want a PlayStation.
Yeah, for sure. And again, when it comes to the exclusive stuff, I remember, you know, back in, you were talking about the PlayStation 3 days, you know, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, you know, having some that were exclusive on each side. I had both systems. I liked both, but I was more of a PC gamer in the beginning anyway. So it's like having both of those and PC was, you know, kind of excessive at that point, but still, you know, I like each of the ecosystems.
During the early days, during the console wars, like PlayStation 2 to 3, and what Xbox was doing, going from the original to the 360 to the one, there was a time where it actually was nice to have both the Xbox and the PlayStation. They were diverse titles that, like, you could only play on one or the other, and they weren't as expensive as they are now. So getting both, especially if you didn't like go as soon as they came out and you just waited a year, having both consoles for a really lucky kid who has cool parents was not unheard of.
And I was the cool kid who just could get both on my own. But having both of those and a PC also, you know, kept me from doing the PC upgrade every year like some people might ordinarily do. Like me, I would always hold a machine longer anyway, because again, I try to plan ahead and, you know, buy a really good machine so that it lasts me at least several years and I can upgrade a video card and add some memory, things like that. Upgrade storage, you know, do things like that to a desktop machine. That's also why I prefer the desktop to the laptop, because I have viable upgrade paths over the next 5 years, you know?
Yeah. Looking at like some of the PlayStation consoles, their shelf life and their longevity as a console did outweigh like having the PC approach, because you will definitely spend more on the PC side to get the same
bang, yeah.
Yeah, and in the case of like certain PlayStations, like even the 3 is still got an active gaming market. There's still a lot of people who love playing those PlayStation 3 games, and we're going on decades.
Yeah, and I mean that's what I was saying. Like I had the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 3. It was at the 3 that I went to the both, where I had the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. Never had the Xbox original one before that, and I never had an Xbox One after that. But I had in
I
that
actually
one.
bought one of those for my friend. I didn't buy one for me. I bought one as a Christmas present for my buddy Jay, the original Xbox. Oh, Steve loved his Atari. Oh, you're not kidding. I loved my Atari. I got it for Christmas, and it wasn't even a real Atari. It was the Sears knockoff, but it could play the Atari cartridges. And
So instead of Combat, you guys had Wombat, right?
no, it did come with Combat.
Now, instead of the Atari, like my friend had the Atari, so that we would go to his house to play the Atari. We had not the Nintendo at my house either, but we had the Intellivision back then. We had the ColecoVision Atom. That was the one where it was the
You had the Atom, damn,
I
you
had the Atom,
spoiled
yes.
little shit.
With the 2 tape deck, the double tape deck, to be able to like load BASIC, load BASIC the program, and then be able to save BASIC programs onto the other tape. It's crazy.
Oh, don't worry, Steve. You didn't date yourself any more than I did. I had pre-Atari. It was Pong, basically, with 6 versions of it.
And before that, there was one where you put like a Mylar thing up on the screen, and a little white dot went around behind it for
what it
haunted house.
was. That's what it was. I bought it at a tag sale for $10. I was like, oh my God, I got a video game.
Crazy how the graphics have come up a little bit since then.
Yeah, well, the controller didn't work good, so I had a video game I could look at.
Now, we also, I remember Dreamcast was one of those where, like, I remember playing Crazy Taxi on the Dreamcast, and there were a few other games that were really good on the Dreamcast, but there wasn't like a huge library that I had, but there were just a couple of games that I really liked. The Bass Fishing one and the Crazy Taxi were 2 of the best.
Yeah. During the 90s, Sega really was on fire. I wanted all the different Sega consoles. They kept coming out with them too quick, like going from the original Sega to the Genesis, and then what was the last one? They came out with them too fast. They were always more expensive, sometimes impossible to get in the United States. It's a shame that like Sega didn't compete as well as they could have in the 90s, because Nintendo just basically stepped all over them in the United States market. And Sega had some incredible games at their time. The Genesis was like, I felt like I was playing an arcade version of Golden Axe.
Oh, I love the Golden Axe, man. That's one of those that even on the emulator, or you've got that emulator machine. Like I've got a library where I can go look at some of the old games that I had, and Golden Axe is always one that comes up. Elevator Action, Golden Axe, Marble Madness. There's a few games that are just
and Marble Madness, one of my all-time favorites, but I need the ball. I am not playing Marble Madness with any other controller.
And even with this, it's like you can do it with that, but it's not.
I need the big ball.
The big ball. Exactly.
I play Marble Madness with my palm.
Exactly. It's got to be like that.
And if I got that ball, then I'm playing Golden Tee as well.
And track and field, probably. I mean, if you have a competition or competitive people, party in the house, you got to get that little track and field.
Track and field is why I broke some of my buttons.
Exactly. And that's why you got to get something like the X Arcade, machine controls, where it's, those things are built like tank tough.
Yep. I'm still looking at that one too.
Right. To me, it would be so ironic to connect that to like a Raspberry Pi, like the smallest, tiniest computer, and this enormous like tank built controller setup. You could just put it in there,
Hey, it'll work.
Absolutely.
So at IGN, thank you for covering that. This is the game channel. I mean, if you go to one game channel on YouTube, IGN is it.
Yes, indeed.
And
good video. I like all the
we got a sneak peek at Sony's latest greatest.
Good stuff in there for sure.
And thank you, Jason, for teasing me last night with those.
Absolutely.
So now we're going to slide into the third portion of our show tonight, the tone. I was originally going to go with tone sculpting for guitar and synthesizer. It started with a conversation the other night, building a patch from scratch on a synth. And starting with a wave, fiddling with the knobs and getting a sound that you want. And then it turned into a guitar tone discussion, because it's kind of the same approach with guitar, except the knobs and the dials and the things you're running through are different than a synthesizer. Well, as I was looking, this particular video caught my eye. At the tone manual, this channel almost got an exclusive tonight. I was gonna like just do a bunch of different videos because it covers so many different things about tone.
I have
But
several of these videos, chalked up for my watch later. Several of them. Like
Yeah.
one of them was about splitting. I think it might be right there. That first one, about the Eric Johnson tone, and there's another one about Hendrix tone. There's another one about about I was telling you guys about how you lose the high end on old guitar strings because like they build up the crud on them, and they're a little bit deader in the low end, but they're 7 times deader when it comes to the high end. So they trail off very quickly. Your sustain trails off if your strings get too old. So that's just one of those things people don't even consider about their chain. And also cable length matters, where in that image they have right there where it looks like a pickup going right into the pedal right into the amp. I mean, that's minimizing cable distance. That's important because some people, they have like a super long cable from the guitar getting to this, and then their whole through the whole pedal rig is another long stretch of cable.
yeah, it's one thing to have a long ass cable because you need it for stage. If you're using that same long ass cable in your studio when you're right next to the guitar, then get another cable.
Exactly. Yeah. Minimizing the cable length that, helps with, shielding issues as well. If you're having interference with somebody's cell phone who's there, which again, if you're in your studio, you shouldn't have that in there anyway. But, these are things that you can work around, things that you can help out with. But love a lot of the videos that I've seen on here so far. And each one has gotten some insight into some different aspects, whether it's tone or whether it's signal path, whether it's electrical, how you're doing your electrical path, how you're doing your signal chain, all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, this one got me thinking about it that way. And, when it comes to your audio interface, so at the tone manual, the one that I did, I wanted to pick all 5, trust me, but we'll keep coming back for our tone sculpting nights. And for this one, it's the impedance myth. It caught my attention just from the title. Stop plugging directly into your interface, the digital tone sucking fault. A lot of guitarists, do what we're going to be talking about here. They plug into an audio interface, they run into the computer, then they model and amp sim and do all their tone sculpting over on the computer side, which is for a studio guitarist. That's fine nowadays. If you do have to do with stage and things, we've got one after for dealing with like that kind of situation. But if you're going through your interface, it's important to understand what's actually going on here from your guitar to your interface into the computer, into the modeler. And this might seem a little heavy duty for some guitarists, but it's all about signal and what happens to the signal as you're running through everything.
And being conscious of the signal path. And even when it comes to troubleshooting, like these are things that, you and I, as computer people, we've been doing this for decades, but like just understanding how to break down, okay, the path, like I'm strumming a guitar or a bass. So it's coming from here, follow that path, follow that chord into the first thing and then into the next thing, into the next thing. And if you're trying to troubleshoot something, you try to minimize everything. So you start, okay, just from the instrument, just to the amp. How does it sound? Okay, now add the next piece, whether it's, starting from the guitar end or starting from the amp end. Start from one end and add the pieces back in until you find where the problem starts coming in.
Yeah, it reminds me of debugging code and like, looking at like what's the start of this code and where are the potential problem points, and okay, let's go focus on this one and make sure that little cable between this pedal and that pedal is actually good. You got to be able to test and compare things, and it should be apples and apples in these cases. Otherwise, you're not really comparing. Unless all things are equal there.
And a lot of people don't even consider the electrical side of things. And that's what we're getting into here.
Yeah. Impedance. I've heard of this word in the music world.
Yes.
All right, let's strip away the marketing fluff today for this explainer. Step away from those glossy plug-in interfaces for a second, and let's actually look at the raw, undeniable math behind your signal chain. I've spent decades on the bench, wiring, fixing, engineering studio rigs, and honestly, I am so tired of seeing good players chasing ghosts. Here's a scenario I see in the studio literally every single day. You take this beautiful, custom-wound $3,000 high-end axe, right? You plug it straight into a generic home studio interface, fire up a premium digital modeler like Neural DSP or Amplitude, and crickets. You're hit with this sterile, flat, compressed tone. It completely lacks that dynamic, tactile touch response of a real tube app. It just feels digital. And what do? You blame the software. Well, stop blaming the software developers, okay? Because the reality is, the software is absolutely fine. Your plugins are mathematically modeling the exact circuits of legendary tube amps with incredible precision. The actual problem? It's you. Specifically, you have mathematically broken your input physics, basically choking your signal to death before it even had a chance to reach the analog to digital converter. Let's dive right into the bench science to see exactly why this happens. So a passive guitar pickup isn't magic. It doesn't run on Mojo or whatever the forums tell you. It behaves strictly as an LCR circuit. That's a combination of inductance, capacitance, and resistance. Because of this, it outputs a highly sensitive, high-impedance signal. It's essentially an inductor trying to drive a voltage. And like any inductor, it is extremely vulnerable to whatever you plug it into. Which brings us to the core issue here. Impedance loading, or what I like to call on the bench a parasitic load. When you take that delicate, high-impedance pickup signal and plug it straight into an audio interface, yeah, even the ones with that cheap little button labeled Inst or High Z, you are very often subjecting it to this parasitic load. The interface's actual input impedance is just way too low relative to your guitar's source impedance. You've accidentally created a voltage divider. Let's look at the hard numbers for a second. To preserve your tone, to properly transfer that voltage from the guitar to the preamp, you need an input impedance measured in megaohms. Specifically, 1 megaohm or 1 million ohms minimum. But a typical line input on a mixing console or a cheap interface, it presents a measly 50 kilo ohms. Even some dedicated instrument inputs fall short, hovering around maybe 500 kilo ohms. And when you hit a 50 kilo ohm load with a high Z source, you absolutely destroy the voltage transfer. It's not even close. And here is the brutal domino effect of that hardware mismatch. Your low load hits the high source, and because of the inductive nature of the pickup we just talked about, you trigger a massive, unintended low-pass filter. Cable capacitance suddenly dominates the circuit. The pickup's inductive reactance literally can't pull the current it needs to reproduce high frequencies, and your signal is permanently choked. If you look at the math, the resonant frequency equation makes the problem super obvious. Your pickup has a natural resonant peak, right? That's what gives your guitar its unique voice. But as capacitance increases, or as your load impedance drops down there in the denominator, your cutoff frequency shifts violently downward. That beautiful, expressive resonance peak, the thing that gives a Strat its quack or a Les Paul its bite, is just completely flattened out. And honestly, it gets worse when you account for harmonic superposition. When you mathematically alter that cutoff frequency with a parasitic load, you aren't just turning down the treble knob a bit. You are physically deleting the second, third, and fourth order harmonics across the strings. These are the exact frequencies that give a real tube amp its dynamic feel, its glassy sparkle, and its touch sensitivity. Think about it. If the harmonics don't make it down the cable, the amp sim can't distort them. They're just gone. We call this the 2000 Hz to 5000 Hz death zone. A healthy pickup's resonance peak normally sits right in this pocket. 2 kHz is your warmth and presence. 3 kHz is your brilliant clarity. 4 kHz is your aggressive pick attack and bite. This entire frequency band is the critical zone for human hearing, and it's literally the absolute heart of electric guitar tone. And your inadequate interface input is tossing this entire spectrum right into the trash can. Basic electrical engineering tells us that when load impedance is too low, you experience treble loss and a severe lack of sustain. Look, this isn't subjective audiophile snake oil nonsense. This is basic math. It's a failure to follow the 10-to-1 impedance bridging rule, which states your load must be at least 10 times higher than your source to prevent signal degradation, period. You can see the difference clearly here. On one side, you have a direct-in signal that is mathematically castrated, squashed, dull, and lifeless, all because of a 50 kiloohm input. On the other side is what your signal should actually look like when it's properly bridged, wide open, full of dynamic range, with all those critical upper-order harmonics perfectly intact. So, how do we fix this? Let's talk about the resolution, impedance bridging, and the active buffer. The only way to actually fix this hardware failure is through a concept called impedance bridging. By definition, this means converting that highly vulnerable, weak, high impedance signal into a robust, low impedance, balanced signal before it hits the preamp or the interface. By doing this, we maximize the voltage transfer and stop that parasitic load dead in its tracks. And here is the exact tool for the job: a professional, transformer-isolated active direct box, or a high-quality hardware buffer pedal. When you plug into an active DI, you're hitting an active FET input stage or an op-amp. The DI box steps in to take the hit for you. It presents a massive 1 mega-ohm load to the guitar, perfectly isolating that delicate LCR pickup circuit. Once the signal passes through the DI's transformer, the audio interface's actual input impedance becomes completely irrelevant.
And for some of you, 1 mega-ohm isn't even enough. 10 million. 10 mega-ohms. Some premium active DI boxes offer an input impedance this insanely high. Why? Well, because if you're tracking with finicky piezo transducers, like on an acoustic electric guitar, their capacitive nature demands an outrageously high load. If you run a piezo into a standard 1 mega-ohm amp input, you lose all your bass response. You need 10 mega-ohms to keep it flat and wide.
So, back on the bench, an active buffer solution immediately presents that necessary 1 to 10 mega-ohm load, completely preventing any high-frequency roll-off. From there, it spits out a robust, low-impedance signal capable of driving long cables without breaking a sweat. You preserve maximum dynamic range, and most importantly, you completely bypass those cheap, compromised instrument inputs on consumer interfaces.
The undeniable proof is right here in the frequency plot. When the source is matched to an extremely high load impedance, the frequency response stays perfectly flat and wide. There is absolutely no tone-sucking filter. You get everything right down to the low-end fundamentals, all the way up through the brilliant 5 kHz harmonics. This tiny piece of circuitry instantly restores your guitar's original feel before it ever hits the digital realm.
I'm going to say it one more time for the folks in the back. Stop chasing expensive software updates. Stop buying new IR packs hoping they'll magically fix a muddy DI track. Your plugins are doing exactly what they're programmed to do. They're modeling the exact circuits of legendary tube amps, but they cannot model frequencies that your hardware has already destroyed. If you feed garbage in, you're going to get modeled, simulated garbage right back out.
So I leave you with this question. Are you really going to keep letting a 50 kilo ohm resistor ruin your records? Fix your hardware physics first. Get a proper active DI. Bridge your impedances correctly. And finally, hear your guitar the way it was actually engineered to sound. If you're ready to stop guessing and start mastering the actual physics of your gear, hit subscribe to the Tone Manual. We'll see you on the bench next time.
The magic word, physics.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm meditating till my guitar tone sounds better.
10 million. Oh.
And preach this word at the Tone Manual. This is like super. If you're a guitarist out there and you've gotten confused about like where your tone is actually being created versus how you run it into like the idea that like you can just buy plug-in upgrades and it's going to somehow fix this problem. Doesn't. And those DI boxes, that one he's talking about there, I've talked to a couple of guitarists who have mentioned that and swear by them. I never totally understood like why till I got a good explanation there.
Yeah. And DI boxes, we use them all the time. We use them a lot more for keyboards than for guitars, but we use them on stage for bands that are coming in and we're setting up sound for them. We'll always have a DI box for keyboards to come out so they can get 2 channels coming out, go to the DI box, and then get them into the board to be able to go a left-right signal if you want to. I have the Sans amp. We've talked about that before, the DI box that I have for the bass, where I can plug my bass into this box and I can actually use it to, I can power it directly from the board. Like the board, you can send phantom power from the board and, power the box from there. So I don't have to add another wall wart. I don't have to add another source of power. I can take it straight from the board. So that's good. Or I can just do battery right in it. That's another good way to do it. But it keeps it isolated in that way. And, you can boost certain range. You can essentially model different sounds just by modifying the EQ that's on it. It's got a lot of options just on the DI box itself, so you can completely change your sound. You can have a sound that's more prog rock sound, or you can have a sound that's more reggae sound, or you can have a sound that's just a flat bass sound. You can have all these different options just by dialing it in on the box itself. So there's a lot of good choices there. But the biggest one is being able to get rid of a hum, or getting rid of bringing the entire signal across. It's important.
Yeah, and speaking of bass, hey Scott, at Bass Face,
what's happening?
and he agrees with you on the Sans Amp.
Oh yeah, it's a good one. And using them for guitars could also help out, like he's saying, getting the DI in there. But understanding the different places where you could lose the tone is important too. Like we mentioned, the dead strings is one place. So, if your strings are old, change those out if that's part of your problem is, loss of sustain and loss of high end. But signal paths is super important too, yeah.
And how you're plugging in, whether you're using like one of those Focusrites, or like in my case, I got a Mackie mixer where I made sure there was at least a couple of channels with high Z options, because if I'm going to run certain things in, if your mixer doesn't support it, then you don't have the option. And getting what you're sending to match what is being received, to make sure you don't lose any of the beautiful dynamics of that expensive, I'm hoping expensive bass that you have. You want to get all that sound into the digital world.
Exactly. And that's one of my favorite things about that Sans Amp in particular, is it has 2 buttons on it to shift some of the lowest end sound up into a more audible range. It takes 40 hertz, which is almost at the bottom of your human hearing, like down to 30 hertz is about as low as you can hear. So that low B string wide open is like 31 hertz. So it's like everything in those bottom 5 notes on that low B string can all get shifted from 40 hertz up to 80. So they use that first harmonic to really boost the sound there. And that way, if that low sound, that low note would normally get cut off because it's below whatever your speakers are pumping out, or below your crossover. If you have a crossover set to send it to a subwoofer and you're not sending it to a subwoofer, this can actually bring it up to 80. So you can actually get a good representation of those low sounds as well. There's another switch to do, I think 500 to 1000 as well.
You've tried some of those DIs, huh?
Love it. And it's good just to have. I mean, we even used the that Sans Amp DI as an emergency bass rig, because somebody showed up to a gig and they plugged in their bass rig and it was just dead on arrival, and you couldn't fix it. And instead of plugging him in direct to the PA or whatever, we just took we had a main speaker in my trunk that I had just with me. So we took one of the mains, one of our old mains out, and we took that Sans Amp DI box, plugged the guy bass right to the DI box right into that speaker, and we were able to just manually dial in how loud to make it. That was his monitor now for bass, and we were able to just take that tone straight from the Sans Amp box if we wanted to. So that was a good way to be able to get around a problem that would have just been, oh, you don't have a bass player today.
Well, and if you are gigging like he is, you might run into one mixing board situation here, a totally different PA situation there, and having the options is better than being forced into a choice.
Yeah. And even last night I went and, I had a surprise thing turn up where I was going to go play out, and, I needed to bring something. So I just brought the 210 speaker and the Hartkey head, and I still have the Sans Amp in the car, so that if I get to the place and there's not enough room for a bass stack, I could just grab the Sans Amp and be done with it. But, since there's room, I can bring the bass and, an actual head and an actual set of speakers and be able to dial in as much as I need to.
Oh, you're so prepared.
It was fun. And if it was a bigger place, if it was, outside in a park or whatever, I would bring the 115. So I would also have, that big extra low end that we can push. But there's no sense bringing that to a smaller place,
Well, you're lucky in the sense that not only are you a musician, but you're also work with a sound engineer. And like some of this stuff you might have for one purpose and some of it you have for the other purpose. But it's nice that you got it all.
Yeah, and lighting too, and that's why a lot of times the power stuff that I have, a lot of that is stuff that I have for the light bars. So I have the power runs and all that kind of stuff. We have good extension cables. Like you see some people, they run old Christmas light cables to like run all their stuff, and it's just like, oh, what are you doing?
That's how you start fires.
That's exactly how you start fires. That's why you don't do that. Yeah.
You get a smoke machine, and I'm hiring you because you got it all.
Yeah. We have one of our light guys has the fog machines. They even have one of the bands actually has the the safe, I don't remember what they call it, safe sparkers basically, but like they pyrotechnics. It's like a full on spark show, like a spark shower that's remote controlled. And it's so safe that the bass player for that band, like usually puts the head of his bass into the spark shower as it's coming out. So he's like, got the sparks like actually hitting his bass. So he's like, no, it's totally safe. Like, whoosh, whoosh.
And Scott's got the right idea. Be nice to the sound guy. That's how you get a good sound.
Exactly.
Glenn will hook you up if you buy him a Yingling.
That's right. Yep. Yingling delicious. Yep. One of our slogans was even, one of the parties that we used to go to all the time, that we were the sound guys for this party for many years. And they had specific rules for the party. And one of the rules, rule number 7, was get the sound guys wasted, because
and not wasted before the show, but after the show, thank them.
Well, it's about showing the appreciation, because they're there working while you're there having fun, doing your thing. And as sound guys, for us, it's most fun if you guys are, feeling like, we take we get the technology problems away, so that you're able to just enjoy doing the music, because we've been there. Like, we've been on stage doing the music ourselves. We know what we would want from the sound guys, and we try to provide that. So
I like a sound guy who knows the experience and isn't just like getting a paycheck and doesn't actually know shit about what he's doing.
Yeah. I mean, there are sound guys who, work at a venue and they treat it more like a security guard gig, where they basically, they're sitting at the sound console to make sure nobody comes over to steal it. But they're not actively mixing anything. Like, people walked in, they made sure the sound came out of stuff, and then they sat back and waited for you guys to shut off so they could turn it off and go home. But that's not a sound guy. That's just somebody who's guarding the equipment, essentially.
My roadie could do that.
Right, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with starting there, or if somebody who's in the band and that's all the time they have is to get everybody's signal and then get back on stage and go, do your thing, that's great. But if you're getting paid to be the sound guy, you should be mixing the whole time. You're listening the whole time. I look around, like, while I'm mixing, I'll just look at the guitar player, and I'm looking at the hands, and I can see the notes he's playing, and I can make sure I can hear those notes specifically. I can home in my mind on what he's playing, and I can hear it, based on the rhythm of what he's the one going chugga chugga chugga, and the other guy's going like, I can watch the hands and see which one's doing what, and make sure I'm hearing it appropriately. And whether then it comes down to the crafting, at that point, making the guitar sound more like a guitar, going into the EQ settings, whether they need a little reverb, whatever. There's all kinds of things you can do to mix to improve the sound at the front of house without interfering with what they're hearing in their monitor mixes. Because in a lot of these situations, if you have 6 people on stage, each one has their own monitor in front of them with their own mix, so that they can hear that vocal, this vocal, and a little bit of that, but I don't want any drums or any bass, so that they can have their own mix to get the best performance out of what they're doing. And while they're playing their leads on the guitar, we can sit there and ride it up a little bit on the volume, so they can hear it a little bit louder, and there's a little more interaction between their guitar and the monitor. And it feels like they turned around and faced into the amp a little bit, but not to a degree that you're, overly affecting what they're doing. But a lot of times you just see them like, whoa, like, it livens up what they're doing, and they interact.
Exactly. It should perk them up, not like get them all like, well, I can't hear what I need. You want to enhance their performance.
Right. Again, and getting out of their way, as far as like, you don't want to, make it something like magical where we're making all these drastic changes all the time, throwing them out of their normal, whatever process. But we want their normal process to be, enhanced by what we're doing.
Yeah. And I'm an expert at chukka chukka if you need one.
Chukka chukka is always good.
Yeah. At the Tone Manual, we will be back because we're going to have some more tone nights.
That's right.
I'd like to get into tone sculpting across all the instruments. Like,
and there are such good ones.
Has a tone, and guitar is one of the guitar and bass are one of the trickiest ones and the most common.
And again, a lot of it comes down to what you're adding into the mix. Like, everyone's going to have their own unique scenario, whether you're just going from a bass into a multi-use pedal into an amp, or if you're going through a whole pedal chain where you're trying to power it differently.
And you say, see, Glenn, what a lead in. Because that's what this next one was about. I wanted to, like, not just talk about it in like studio situations and this kind of stuff. It does apply to both stage and studio, the impedance. But a lot of times you don't have as much control over your options on stage that you do in the studio. If you're like doing like rigging pedals, like some of them you've seen, you got that dude that's got that 19 pedal chain, and I'm kind of curious if he is doing that sequential pedal into the next pedal into the next pedal. Makes for there's a reason why that chain is organized the way it is, because we start doing this effect or cleaning up something and then go into this effect and then to this one. And if you're running reverb into, say, another effect after the fact, and that infamous mud that you get when you start doing tons of pedals like that. Adam Reynolds, Reshi channel, but covering something that we cover, and we'll be back to see what you do at the Adam Reynolds. His talk here about parallel signal processing is something, I've had little talks here and there about it. I don't actually know any guitarists who go this route, but I'm kind of curious as to why not. The difference in the tone you get out of your effects can be a big difference depending on whether you route this way or whether you do it the traditional way.
Now, with somebody who does have such an intricate pedal board where they have 19 pedals or whatever it is, a lot of times it would almost have to be separate chains for certain things where, you're doing true bypass in a lot of ways, because you don't want the path going all the way through all those pedals all the time.
Even when you are going left to right there in that chain, you got to have like on-offs in certain places, because you need to be able to flip certain things on and off that way.
Yeah, and in that massive rig that the one guy had, basically the bottom right corner of the whole thing was like a six box selector, but each of those was like a whole setup on its own. Like you hit the first one and that's going to enable or disable like all of these pedals, and then the second one would do a completely different setup where it's kicking on a synthesizer sound, for example, because it was an 80s band and he was a bass player and needed that synth.
I'm looking at you, Geddy Lee.
Exactly. Certain places where you need that, but the idea, the whole series versus parallel, there are again certain pedals, certain types of effects that you definitely would want serial, and there are other ones that you would definitely want to send the signal off parallel to get a better response. So in some ways it's just the type of effects that would be getting sent off as a signal loop somewhere else and then coming back differently or coming back to a different amp entirely. But again, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And to me, the best is to try to simplify everything as much as possible. Like I know people who come from the school where they use almost no pedals at all. Like he has one tube screamer he'll break out once in a while, but every other sound that he needs for every kind of song we do, spanning decades, is all just the guitar, the fingers, and the amplifier, and he can get it all done. So
and like to Scott's mentality here, like he keeps his signals like his sense of humor pretty damn dry.
Exactly.
It's much easier to manage a signal that way. His buddy does parallel routing, and he's got a pro pedal board with switchers, and you got the right equipment. It's nice to be able to do that. What's cool with the way that Adam demonstrates it here. He keeps it simple. He just shows a simple parallel switch approach with two effects, and really it doesn't matter which effects they are. It's just about understanding how this approach is different than going in and out.
Yep, good stuff.
Yeah, important stuff.
So if you're having a hard time stacking your effects in a way that you can get a good sound, or you're just getting bored with all of the pedals that you currently have, I've got something today that'll solve some of those problems for you and make you look at the effects you have in a whole new light. So running your effects in parallel will allow you to get sounds you could never possibly get running your guitar pedals in series. If you're running your guitar pedals in series and you're running your overdrive into your delay, well then your delay is going to have distorted delays. But if you use something like an LS2 to split your signal and then run those two pedals in parallel, they don't affect each other. So you can do things like run a distortion pedal and a delay, and you don't have to worry about the distortion pedal overwhelming that delay. It's a really great thing to do. So today we're going to look at 3 different ways to use just a Boss LS2. And then if you stick around to the end, I've got a fun little hack that you can do with an LS2 that you might not think of on your own. So let's get into it. First up, Clean blend everything. Okay, so for this example, we're just gonna use a good old-fashioned Boss Super Overdrive SD1. We're gonna run it into the A channel, and then we're just gonna run clean in the B channel. So let's kick this thing on. We'll just have both volumes at 50%. That means they're both running the same thing. The SD1 is off, so we're gonna get a clean signal coming out of both channels right now, and it just sounds like this. And then if we kick on the overdrive, you'll hear the clean signal and the overdrive together, which sounds like. And then if we roll the overdrive out, you can kind of hear that kicking in. So it's a great way to kind of get your overdrive sustained, but still keep that attack, okay? We roll out the clean. See how we lose some of that attack. So this is really made popular with the Sparkle drive back in the day, which was like a TS9 with a clean blend. Happened in the late 90s, early 2000s. I had one that I stupidly sold, but anyway, works really good with overdrive. Now let's try it with a fuzz. In this case, we're gonna use the Russian Big Muff that won my shootout in a video I did a couple of weeks ago. I'm really digging this thing. So let's just check out something where if you have a really heavy fuzz sound and you run a clean blend, there's the clean signal. Turn down the Big Muff a little bit here, but yeah, it's the same thing. So you can get a little more definition because, you know, Big Muffs are notorious for not having a lot of definition. Turn off all the clean, it sounds like. If we put that clean in, you just get that little bit of extra clink that, hear it? You know what? I'm having so much fun with these overdrives. Let's do this. Let's put the Boss SD1 in the B channel and see what happens when you have the Big Muff and the overdrive together and blend those. I think it'll turn out really cool. So let's change those out. Second, click all that in. Where did my other one go? There it is. So we got the Big Muff in the A channel, the Super Overdrive in the B channel. Let's see what that sounds like. Let's take one out. Put it back in. Yeah, there we go. If we take out the A. All right, part two, lose the mud. All right, in this case, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a really heavy distortion. And if we're gonna use a heavy distortion, it's gotta be a rat, am I right? And we're gonna run that in parallel with an analog delay. And so in my experience, when you run these two effects in series, you just end up with a giant wall of mud. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna run our A signal through the rat to get our distorted sound, but then we're gonna run a B signal through the DM2. That way we keep the clean repeats and it doesn't get just all mushy and just nasty sounding. All right, let's try with a little bit of slap back. And then let's roll in some drive. Oh yeah. Yeah, you kind of get this. It's like, yeah, you get all that rat. I mean, you could even cut this back a little bit if you want. Now, the nice thing about the LS2 is you can adjust volumes. Like, you could even roll the distortion back. Yeah, Yeah, so it's a great way to still get definition and some drive and sustain without just muddying up your repeats. Last up, ambient playground. So this is where things can start to really get fun and you can really come up with some great clean tones. So in this case, we got the Flint on one side, on the A side, we got the DD3 on the B side, and let's just start with the Flint on the 80 setting. Got the mix up, got a little bit of color here for the reverb sound. Right? Great, nice tails on it, all that good stuff. Actually, let's get a little more on there. Okay, so what ends up happening a lot of times, right, is you'll have those tails, and then when you try to run like a delay, those would run into the reverb and it would just become a mess. But since we're running these in parallel, you can do things like all right, now let's take it another step. We're gonna take a really choppy tremolo sound like this, and we're gonna roll in the DD3 sound, because what would usually happen if you ran these in series, the delay would be running in the tremolo and it'd be chopping it off, or vice versa. But if we do it this way, we can kind of get these really great like volume swells and movement, but still keep the nice repeats like this. So see, you kind of get that choppiness, swelling under it, and movement, but you still get the repeats. It's a really cool idea. Secret hack! All right, so here's that little secret hack that I promised you at the beginning of the video, and that is you can use your LS2 like a two-stage volume booster. Let's set it to, it goes from A to B to bypass. And let's pretend I want to boost, you know, the A channel some. So I would turn my channel up there, and maybe I want to cut with my B channel, and then I would get this sort of thing. So if I'm bypassed, I've got my, but then if I hit it once, got my volume boost, but then I could hit it again, and then maybe I get a volume reduction. So give that a try if you want. So for this demo, I used a Boss LS2 because I'm a Boss fanboy and I love Boss, but there are tons of line selector options out there. I'll put a few affiliate links below with some more choices to use, and find something you like. Okay, well, I hope that gave you some ideas and some inspiration to go out and try using some of the pedals you have in parallel. It's a really great way to clean up your tone, and then also just breathe new life into the pedals you have. I tell you what, comment below. Tell me how you're gonna run some pedals in parallel, or what are your favorite combos that you're already doing. Thanks a lot, y'all. Don't forget, like and subscribe. The buttons are below, and as my man Lil Wayne always says, be good or be good at it. All right, later.
I'm good and Glenn is good at it. So we we make a hell of a team.
There you go. Perfect. Now the SansAmp, one of the things we were talking about before, the SansAmp pack actually has a bypass also in it. So if you go your bass into the SansAmp and then you're taking the regular signal out, there is also a secondary out already. So there's already a secondary, you know, it's not a volume mixer the way the LS is there with, you know, having the separate blends, but in the same way, you're sending out two separate signals. So you can set to two totally separate signal chains just from something like that SansAmp.
And again, it gives you extra flexibility, extra sound option and routing.
Different combinations. I mean, there are all kinds of different options. Like he was saying, if you use in a certain series, they come out one way. If you use it in the reversed series, they come out a different way. And if you use them in parallel, you get a completely different way.
Well, and his tremolo and distortion example, it was distortion he put with it.
I think it was about delay actually on the one where it was they would chop each other off.
Yeah. And these are the kind of effects where I don't necessarily want that effect to go through this effect. And it's a lot like when you're mixing on buses and you're adjusting the dry and wet of an effect on a bus, and like I just want that tremolo to be hiding over here in volume and effect. And if you've got a bunch of effects in your chain and you're deciding like how they all route either through or together into your final sound, this approach mixed sometimes with a little bit of the linear approach, I think that's the best way to actually build your effects chain.
Oh yeah, and again, keeping it simple to me is the best way to start. Like you start by, just like with an EQ, like you start flat and you start to, add or, you boost or cut as needed, so that's, as needed is the key there. So like you start with nothing and you only make adjustments where you need adjustments because something sounds better after an adjustment.
Yeah, we had that pedal night where one of the ones we watched, he said that like decide, why do I need this pedal? Like
Mhm.
what am I going to use this pedal for, especially on stage? Like
Mhm.
is this for like one moment in a song and I'm not going to use the pedal the entire rest of the set, or is this like
Tone crafting.
essential?
Yeah, because that's the thing is like with certain pedal setups, it's all about the tone crafting. Like all these pedals are in place because they're always active, and it's what the actual tone of the guitar is meant to sound like. That's something like where my buddy Mike, when he modeled his pedal rig, he built his pedal rig after Trey Anastasia's pedal rig from Fish, and couldn't buy the same components, of course, but would get like the equivalent component of this drive pedal, or like in the one case it had the two tube screamers, for example, two of the Ibanez tube screamers. So he got two tube screamers in his, and the same pedal chain and all that. He was mentioning the big muff there for the bass. We have the big green one, the big bass big muff that has the one input
Like
and
he
two
said,
outputs.
the Russian Big Muff. I
Yeah.
didn't know there was a different one.
Oh yeah, the Russian big muff.
Ah.
The other one that we like is the baseballs. The baseballs is the envelope filter. This one was the you can do the pound, like that kind of a sound. So we can mess with that one night too. But
Oh,
like I don't have a lot of
you
pedals.
bass players have some of the coolest pedal names.
We do. But that's the thing is like those, and like there's an EQ pedal back here somewhere. Like I have several of them, but the also
And would you not say an EQ would be an essential in any matter of fact, if you're like hardcore, you might EQ going into the chain and you might EQ going out of the chain.
if you were to scroll down, it might be from might have been actually the last channel we were on, the tone manual. I think it was that channel where there was 10 different uses for an EQ pedal, where it actually had all these different things that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but things that you can also use an EQ pedal for, because there are things you can do. Like you can model the sound of like the the sound of the voice coming through a telephone, for example, like where you're only doing that one band, very narrow band, or very low pass. You can do the opposite, and get a very low part, but there's all kinds of other things that you can do as well with boosting and cutting different parts of a voice.
Hey, you give me enough time, I'll give you 20 reasons.
Right? Exactly.
And Scott asked a good question here. You ever play with the reamping for recording? He hasn't tried it yet, but he's thought about doing it. And reamping is what the process of like running it through all the effects in the signal chain out to a speaker and then miking that.
I think it's more just using like if you're using the amp modeling, for example, where you tell it, oh, instead of the PV that it was played through, see what it sounds like through a boss or whatever, like being able to change the actual sound crafting at that level. I haven't done much with that, because most of what I would just record the signal I'm sending in and then utilize it from there. And like, for example, for bass parts, I would just have my bass plugged directly in through that Mackie 402 board, where it's using that Mackie preamp, and then getting it into the computer from there, and then just not even doing any modeling from there, just taking that signal as it is and utilizing that for bass. Because I'm not as worried about the tone when it comes to bass. It's not as much of a boutique thing as guitar tone, where you're trying to get a very specific sound for those, for the sustain and for everything else. For bass parts, I'm usually just, focused on getting a bass part that works for that.
Oh, you played with the envelope filters, huh? Have you really played with them? And compressors, again, these things that we now buy and add to the signal chains, whether it's for mixing or whether it's for a particular instrument, testing it, seeing the effect of it. Is it something that I'm going to do all the time, or is it something I'm going to do some of the time? Uh, it's nice to be able to experiment. I wish I worked at like a music store where I could just try it there before buying it.
Now, for me, the Baseballs pedal, like that's like 1 or 2 songs. Like I can think of 1 or 2 Fish songs that I know of that I would definitely use that pedal to get that sound, because there's just this one, I always call it like the bubble bass sound, because it has that very definitive sound that if you heard it and you'd be like, oh, okay, you call that the bubble bass sound, you would recognize it immediately in any
It's
other song you heard.
plucky and trippy at the same time.
It's a lot of fun, and we can demonstrate it sometime. Like we'll get that plugged in one night and check it out, because that's not difficult. It's right there, so we can always do that.
We're gonna
Probably in
have
the new
to
place
have
though, because like we said, I'll probably be up in the new place. I've said it was going to be by this week, but I do have a few weeks left to get up into there. But we'll probably be broadcasting from there the next week or two.
our next base night effects will be the specialty, the spotlight.
Yeah. Well, I also have that. It's a little bit buried behind me over here, but I also have that. Which one was it? The Line 6, the Floor Pod Plus. So it has all those built-in sounds as well, and that's one that I would usually use for the guitar. But it is, we can also
popular.
plug the bass into it. So.
Super popular with the guitarists. Yeah.
And we also have the looper pedal, the RC30, I believe we said it was, right? Not the 300 that has
the little baby.
That's the RC3 is the little baby. This is the double, the RC30. And then
yeah. Well, that one's useful.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just the fact that it's got the two separate channels essentially, with the 2 separate volumes and the 2 separate, you can add the drums in there, the rhythm, all that. I mean, not to mention you can hook it up USB and drop things into it. So like I have a bunch of different practice tunes that I dropped in on channel folders, so I can listen and play along to Fish songs and other things that I put in
that's
there.
the one that you loaded with like Fish and what was it, James Brown? You had a couple of things in there.
James Brown funky instrumentals. Yeah. I mean, that was actually one of my Sunday morning practice things that I would do, is just, wake up on a Sunday and like, throw on James Brown funky instrumentals and just play bass along with it for, half an hour or an hour, just because there's no lyrics to worry about, just a bunch of different songs coming up, a bunch of great grooves, and just, I mean, it gets you really moving in the morning. So it's good stuff.
That's exercise.
Excellent stuff.
At the Adam Reynolds, love this information. Glad that I could get that to complement the tone sculpting or signal routing. And tones this year, gonna be covering it. I'll be back, Adam, especially for the guitar and bass stuff. We're gonna have another bass night, and bass effects will be for sure in the works.
Not only that, but as I mentioned, the the guitar pedal board that my buddy Mike had built, he has it's up in storage, and I could borrow it for one of these nights for us to actually look at all the different components that are in there, because I mean, he hasn't been using it in a long time. Like, he's played bass more recently than he's played guitar, and he hasn't played bass in a while. So I know it's sitting in storage, and I could easily borrow it sometimes, especially for the purposes of us checking out these pedals. And his board is probably 8 or 9 pedals, but he's got the Boosta Grande in there. He's got a drop pedal in there. He's got his rig set up to be as close to Trey Anastasia's rig as he could get, put together. So it's got all of what it should have for the tone crafting portions and for the things that you would activate, kick in for a solo here and do this there. He also had some custom work done on his SG, where he made his SG only have the 1 volume control knob, and he added in a push pull to be able to split the coils, for example. So he added some custom work onto his SG as well.
You hear that, folks? We have a giant guinea pig, and he's ready to test shit.
That's right. And I'll have the space to do it. I'll have the space to do it too in the new spot. So we will check it out for sure.
Yeah, we'll be back to that. And for our last one, another cool gadget that I'm hoping the price on this is not ridiculous, because I would see this as an essential for like sound engineers in the future. If it does what it does, and it does it reliably, it's a really cool idea. It's we're getting this one Freshie channel at bigclive.com. And man, I'm seeing all sorts of gadgets here. Damn. I'm gonna go through every one of these. I want to know what they do. I see camera technology, I see audio technology, and that, me, I am both. I've been a photographer, I've been a sound engineer, and this particular device kind of makes me curious from both sides here.
Exactly.
It's a Crysound acoustic camera, and they reached out to him, said, "Hey, you want to test this out? Give us your feedback." Lucky. Clive, I want to be able to play with toys like this too. Tell me your secret.
For
But
me, like I would love to see the combination, like taking all the different types of camera technology gadgets all combined into one, like night vision, low light vision, acoustic, thermal, like, get all the different wavelengths, be able to see Wi-Fi, be able to see, X-ray interference, whatever, like, be able to see all the stuff, all the bands.
I will get to work on a camera night, because damn, I hadn't even thought of that, but man, I got a couple of rabbit holes there. But for this one, we're going to see if it can actually visualize sound and give useful data that if you're measuring out. I see this as like a studio building tool. If I was building studios for people and I needed to determine how to soundproof this room or whether what we did is actually doing something, a sensor like this, a camera like this would be awesome.
Yeah. One application that comes to me is that there several of the bars that we work in, they have odd shaped rooms, right? So the sound reflections can happen in weird places. And in some cases, it was difficult for people to hear at a bar, for example, based on how loud the band was playing. So they actually put some sound baffling in just above where the people are at the bar. And it actually did a good job of blocking the reflections that were basically thundering down on them from a weird angle, coming down from a roof, for example. And this is one of those things where, this is the type of technology that could probably have helped them with figuring out exactly what angle to put those, the baffling material.
Oh yeah. Typically the sound engineer is just kind of going off of Murphy's law, and okay, I got a speaker here and it's hitting this, and if I do this, we go off of like intuition based on what we know about how sound bounces around.
Yeah.
But awesome to have something that's like, wow, did that actually do anything?
And in some cases, it has to do with the exact dimensions of the room, because if the room was, a smidge, a fraction of an inch longer to that wall or shorter to that wall, you wouldn't get as much of a buildup. But it's just because it's exactly that one distance that one note resonates, and you just get that woo, starts building up on you all of a sudden out of nowhere. Something like that can happen in certain places.
Yeah. This reminds me of that night we were looking at sound reinforcement. We looked at software mixed with camera and microphones, software that was determining a lot of this stuff and showing like 3D visually what's going on in the acoustics of the room. But this is like point and click, and I like the idea.
Another aspect of this, or another way to investigate the same kinds of issues as this, is a microphone that we have in order to tone out a room for the PA that we're putting in for sound guys. So we can go in there before we set anything up, put this microphone in the room in different places, and have the system listen to itself essentially and determine what it needs to do for the room before we get into that. But we usually just do everything, manually anyway, because it's a lot more accurate when we do it that way. Like we're hearing the actual frequencies that are a problem instead of investigating, and fixing for problems that are not going to be an issue for this band, for example. But there are technologies out there that are, rather than visualizing it this way, there's something where the system can actually listen to itself and decide and make certain changes based on what it's hearing in the room.
Yeah. I'm curious how like this camera technology, when you do mix like mics, if it can take multiple mics as inputs to visually do what it's doing along with mics that are laid out in the room, you could build a really cool sound analytics system with the right hardware.
My guess is this has the mic built in. My guess is this has the mics built in the front, but that's the question. Like I know, like for example, the Zoom H6 recorder I had the two built-in mics in the front, but it also had connections where you can send external mics in.
I'd like to be able to do like a shotgun, hook it up to it, and point it specifically at things.
Exactly. And I think that's what, the camera part is, partially for, so we can actually see like what's going on over there. And the reason we can tell what's going on over there is because it's listening to that spot over there. Could even be laser. That's the other question, is that you do see laser microphones sometimes too, right?
Damn it, if there's going to be layers, there better be sharks. We made a rule about
laser
that.
beams. We did. We made a rule.
All right. Hopefully it's not super expensive, because it's super interesting and I would love to get my hands on it.
A company called Crysound got in touch and asked if I'd like one of their acoustic imaging cameras. Now, this is a camera that sees sound. It has a camera in the middle, but it has an array of microphones around the outside, and using quite advanced digital signal processing, it then can help visualize audio. Now, the best way to demonstrate this is to take it out to the garage and show you looking for some audio sources. But to do that, I'm going to actually, this can take pictures, but it doesn't seem to take video in this particular unit. But this is what they call a demonstrator version. So I shall make a little jig up that lets me put the phone in front of the camera, and then we can actually try it out. So let's do that now. Okay, let's give this a test. So at the moment you can see my voice literally bouncing off that door, and there's also the ambient rumble from outside. And the gain shoots right up to the point it can detect ambient noise if it's just in a quiet environment. However, what's interesting is it detected something really unexpected. See how it just locked onto that? Even from a considerable distance it locks onto that. And it's actually an ion generator. Well, it's an ionic ozone generator, and it's hearing the sound of the corona discharge in the needles. And see how it's hovering around the two at the left? That's absolutely right. They're the two ones that are glowing. The other one is not glowing at the moment. That's weird. Another test could be to point at this ultrasonic atomizer. And it's finding that the source of the noise is right at the top where the piezoelectric disc is. Very interesting. I've been running around the house with this, just looking at everything, and in a really quiet environment, it can even hear the switch mode power supply inside the electricity meter. That's quite intriguing. Okay, back to the bench. You've seen that demo in the garage. It's worth mentioning things. I had it in auto mode there, but if you select manual mode, you can select the frequency range that this unit will actually monitor. I think it's easier just to leave it in auto mode, but for some applications it might be better to actually lock it. And see how it was seeing the corona discharge noise of the emitter needle. That's particularly interesting because one of its main applications is in corona discharge finding in electrical distribution networks. One of its other touted uses is detecting gas leaks or compressed air leaks because it can home in that sort of high frequency noise. Other applications I could think of for this could be possibly finding leaks in refrigeration condensers and evaporators, and rogue sounds on film locations, finding rogue noise in the lighting rig, because that sometimes happens when fans fail on specific lights and you don't necessarily want to power down a section of the rig. But it's very interesting, an intriguing device. Now, I would open this and show you what's inside, but Mike's Electric Stuff opened his and it didn't end well. The screen broke on it. But having said that, once he'd opened it, he was able to actually just go over it in great detail, and Mike's better qualified in that area to show you what's inside these. But this may well appear in future videos now. But at this point in time, Crysound were doing a Kickstarter, although it's an established product that they've almost finished developing. I would guess that the final bit will be the software, and this is a sort of earlier unit. But their Kickstarter looks like it's ended and it was successful, but it's an ongoing thing, because if you were to get the Fluke version of this, it would cost in the region of £20,000. But if you buy this one, it's somewhat less. It's about 5% of the cost of that, which makes it much more available to smaller factories and places that want to use it to actually diagnose equipment issues that are generating detectable noise or not detectable noise, as the case may be, because this is very good at hearing ultrasonic noise. But it's fascinating. It's a very interesting device. Much like thermal imaging cameras, though, you have to understand the behavior of sound in the same way you have to understand the emissivity of heat in the thermal imaging cameras. So you have to understand that lower frequencies are more ambient and the higher frequencies are more directional, and also how sound reflections can occur. But it's very good, a very interesting development, making something so specialist affordable to the point that for some enthusiasts it may actually become viable, and definitely for industrial applications. But that's it. I shall leave some links and more information in the description down below.
Oh, Clive, I'm going down below. See on those descriptions because I will be following. So it's a Kickstarter that they're getting together, and 20,000 pounds. I guess that's like 10 Glens.
Pretty much.
It sounds heavy.
Yeah, it does.
I know it's money, but
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, as he was saying, 5% of what a fluke of a similar design would cost. Like we both used flukes for network, network packet sniffing and network the stuff that we're doing over there. But having one for this kind of a thing, or you would assume they would have that kind of a device as well.
Well, it's interesting he mentioned Corona sensors, like it was built off of are these the same kind of sensors they point at the sun to figure out like
Well, different kind of corona, but same principle, same idea basically. But the idea is with this, it just has to do with the electrical discharge on certain things, and it can listen for that. Two things that I was thinking about was methane leaks as something that that's one that you can actually hear. So that's something from a distance. You don't have to directly sample the air, but you can actually hear something coming out from there. So that can point you in that direction, especially if it's a certain frequency. Another would be things that I've seen about railroad tires, or not tires, but wheels, railroad wheels that are getting ready to fail.
Yep.
They're getting ready to fail, that they're heating up a lot. So they're actually looking at them with thermal cameras. But there's also a noise aspect where the ones that are really about to fail are really squeaking or screeching badly. And that's the kind of thing that would just be, a very loud noise that could set off certain sensors or trip certain thresholds for something like this.
So this is the kind of tool that different maintenance workers across multiple industries could start to use, like to improve their jobs.
Yeah, and as someone mentioned before, like they didn't like the use of the seeing sound as a phrase, because you can't see sound. But in this case, I would see it more as translating or as representing. Like you can visualize the sound by it can detect it with all these microphones. It can very accurately detect the direction that it came from, because we all know the the Doppler shift and how you can triangulate sounds from knowing points. This camera looks like it has tons of those sensors so that it can in real time see very numerous inputs and tell you exactly what direction it came from and highlight that spot if it's getting a lot of signal from there.
Yeah. I look at the concept of seeing sound with sensors like this, just like with in photography, infrared film or film for specific measurements, and it just measures like heat and it turns it into color. This is a way of translating something that we're used to hearing sound. We're not used to seeing it, but sensors like that, especially when you have different mics and you can actually run different signals in the long term, this mixed with like some good AI, 10 mics in the room, different purposes, like capturing everything into a brain like that, might actually be able to tell you everything about the acoustics of that room and where to put everything to get the perfect sound.
Yeah, because in some cases you just might need to, baffle one or two spots that are particularly problematic, causing bad reflections. Other cases you might need to, block off this entire wall because all the sound is bouncing from there and getting into a bad way. So it's important to figure out what is needed to get all those things fixed for you.
Yeah, as Scott's saying, it's giving a visual. It simplifies, yes, but it's better than no visual at all. So, like, usually I try to do the sound stuff like by ear, but just like I EQ nowadays, and I look at the color graphs on my Fab filter because sometimes I see shit that I don't hear, and that visual lets me know there's noise that I don't need in that track or that mix. And the combination of visual with the sound is useful. I would not kick that option out of bed if I can see my room this way.
I mean, that's the thing is we use a lot of times the real-time analysis on the EQ. Like you're looking at the graphic EQ, you're seeing where the bands are set for that particular channel, but you also have it showing you real time where that signal's coming in, on there. So is it hot in the low end? Is it hot in the high end? You'll actually see where the signal's coming in and how it's responding, to the EQ that you have there, or where you need to make adjustments to get more low end or get less high end, what have you.
Yeah. I like that they're building these kinds of out of the box technologies that, yeah, it may not be a necessity for like this particular market. Musicians aren't likely to go and buy any of these, but sound engineers, Hollywood, well, we got to set up a stage and let's see the effect of, like you said, in the railroad industry, if we're like maintenance, so I aim it this way and I can actually see trains or rails that need replacement. Any of that makes this like useful in a lot of different industries. I
Don't
don't
forget
know if
about
it's
science.
20,000 pounds worth, but hey,
Don't forget about science.
it'll get cheaper.
There are some experiments where, for example, if you're doing, astronomy, you need, darkness, utter darkness, where if you're doing certain types of sound science, acoustic science, you need silence, right? So like you might have to go, if you're preparing an area for an experiment, you might have to be able to see where any kind of sound might be leaking in. And it could be things like, distant earthquakes are the only things that are getting any kind of, sound into this room, but they're coming in from that corner. So like you can figure out how to get that corner.
If you had one of these floating on a satellite around the planet aimed at a part of the planet and it's picking up rumblings from the ground, this is a new form of seismology if you think about it.
Yeah, it can give you strong signals from there. Yeah, for sure. And again, someplace like New York City is going to constantly be just giving off a hum because the city has a hum to itself.
Once the camera knows the noise and it isolates that out of the picture, it might still be able to pick up a fault shift if it happens.
Exactly. And by triangulating, by hearing from different, points, you can actually triangulate where it's coming from, and from multiple places, you can see multiple, you can get a better picture of where it's all coming in from in 3 dimensions.
Yeah. Very cool Freshie channel at bigclive.com. I like gadgets like this, especially like unique ones where we're getting different measurements. And this is where science starts to like actually grow, because now we're not just measuring one thing, we're measuring 10 things. And if I can get 20 pounds of Glen in there, then we might actually solve something with that.
Exactly. Good stuff.
At bigclive.com. I would be back to look at these gadgets. Camera side, been a photographer for a long time, and any unusual camera, I definitely am interested in.
Exactly. What was the is it a light scene camera? There's a couple. It would take the entire scene of the room, and you'd be able to like change the angle and like look around from different. I can't remember the exact name of the camera, but there was a specific type of camera, the light field or something like that, where it actually takes the image of the entire 3D space of the room, and you can move around within it.
I could show you a camera I bought in 1991, which was a 3D camera, and I actually didn't buy it directly. I was told I won a prize, and like I was like, oh my god! But I did have to pay for shipping on it, and I mean it wasn't super expensive, and it was a unique camera. It actually did take 3D pictures, but you had to send the film to a special processing place. And you know how film processing, especially back then, to get these 3D pictures, I had to go through a special processing place and I had to buy special lens and special bulbs. It's like, yay, you gave me a free camera that I had to buy shit for.
And they go, I got another one.
But it did manage to actually take cool flat pictures that look like those hologram pictures back then.
Yep.
It looked like the picture actually was coming out of it like a hologram.
Nice. And I was gonna say special paper too for the prints, I'm sure, right?
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I never used it for anything cool, but I was like, wow, I'm probably like the only person in the world with one of these.
Yeah, that's right. But then they get the digital 3D camera, right? That's coming soon.
Yeah, but unless it's like does like R2D2 holograms and shit, it's not real 3D.
We were in there though, because I have seen some things where you can take something like you put a piece of glass over like a cell phone, like a wine glass over a cell phone, and it'll be able to project an image up. And we're getting to the point where we're almost able to 3D represent. So we'll get there.
Damn it, Obi-Wan, we're almost there.
Almost. Less than 20 years away, maybe less than 5 years away from practical stuff that we can do, practical holograms on the fly. And again, a lot of it comes down to what's pushing it, like what's the need, what's the use case, right? I mean, if it's just to have, a cool, hologram standing up off of your wrist so you can have a conversation with somebody, is that cool enough to justify the investment? Or is it something where it's going to actually benefit medical technology, for example? That's something that would actually push technology forward.
All right. Well, if you can save the princess and defeat Darth Vader, then that hologram is ready.
Exactly. That's going to push the technology. That'll work.
A Star Wars night. I would like to have one of those too. Actually, a Star Wars Star Trek hybrid night.
Sure.
Space technology.
Space, the final frontier.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be keeping up with the news. A lot of news going on. Last week's Fender news. Still the rumbling that's going on.
It has not settled down yet. No.
Yeah, some of the stuff we've been covering has definitely filled our feed with some new updates.
Indeed.
But we'll
keeping
be
us
back.
busy.
Yeah, we'll be back next Thursday to keep you up to date. Monday with Wally. And Tuesday we'll actually be looking at Heath Lattin's album review that we did a couple weeks ago. Nice. And it's 24. It's a double album. He calls it a single album, but I call it a double.
Lots of work went into that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some good shit in there. And then Ange will be whipping it back out on Wednesday. She's kicking ass on Wednesday.
Love it.
Yeah, she's gonna warm us up before we come back next week. Glenn, I know that wall's going to be changing soon.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, I mean, I do still have the drums right here. I'm going to try to get those up there this week. So we'll get the drums there. We'll get that up there. I have some other artwork that's got to get up there. The Looney Tunes behind me, they're coming up there.
Well, I figure until the Pink Floyd asses move, then you're not moving. So.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't fit in most cars, so that's that's a good size. I mean, that takes the entire back seat and then some probably. So that'll be moving truck day. So that's gonna go when this couch right here, when this couch goes, that'll go with it. The couch, some of the entertainment center units, like there's a bunch of different things here. I think it's 18 pieces of that won't fit in the car. So that's one big truckload at that point. But everything else can go beforehand. So I'm doing
all the big stuff, which you count as one of those.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I'm easy to move because I can just slide into this car and go. You throw me in the back of a truck, it's all good.
Yeah, it's a good thing you can carry your own weight.
Exactly, and then some.
Right,
we'll catch everybody next time.
We'll see you next week, folks.
Take care.
We cover digital audio workstations and music tools. We explore theory, gear, and MIDI too. How to arrange, compose, and the art of arranging. Taking a look at AI and how the times have changed. On a PC or a Mac and even with a mobile device, we'll be talking about it all every Thursday night. From software to plugins and synths that entice. Dive deep into tech and let creativity take flight. Talkin IT. We're talking IT. educational with a lot to learn. From bedroom producers to seasoned pros, we're breaking it down so knowledge grows. Whether you're a DJ or a beat-making wizard, we got the tips and tricks to make your sound sizzle. Mixing and mastering, that's our jam. With the tutorials and tips on how much rev. Get the best quality from your setup and gear. Tune in every week and lend us your ear. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. We're talking We're talking